I think we're live. Well, I'm live. If anybody out there can hear me, please tell me. Oh my. I'm also hearing myself, so just give me 1 second because, again, this is a new program, so just give me 1 second here. We'll let some people get in here. I really can't deal with that shit. Let's see here. Trying to see if I can hear myself still. Oh, I know what's going on here. Hold on 1 second. All right. Hey, Matt Gilmore. I'm guessing everybody can hear me now because I can't hear myself. So switch that back to the right setting and we should be good to go here. Discerning Light, County Poe. Miss Debbie W. Dalen, how are you? We got 14 people in here. We're going to talk about a few things tonight. And if any of you guys want to come in, we can. I've been missing in action here for a good week and a half, and it was peaceful. I stopped watching a bunch of dumb shit. That was good. So I didn't have to listen to anything like that. So let's see. So how are all you guys doing? I'm waiting on Kale to get her ass in here. Of course, she's late. She said, give 10 minutes and then I'll be there. And so I gave 20 to be on the safe side. And here we are. 30 minutes later and still not here. Charles Music, how are you? We were having a pretty deep discussion today on the phone about some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. And I'm like, we have been missing in action, and maybe it's time that we talk about some of these topics. So we're not going to stay on topics for a long time because we got a few of them to talk about, and eventually we all do have to go to bed. Crazy last weekend, huh? I haven't said any words on it. I didn't get online. I sat back and watched. What people did, what they said. I watched other communities talk about it, not just the Las Vegas shooting community. I got to tell you, different communities out there, they don't do all that hating shit that goes on here. I mean, I'm just telling you, I don't like, they all talk about it and they disagree. If they don't, whatever. But I damn sure ain't got no clowns following them around. Trying to, yeah, Debbie, who does need sleep, right? So I'll start talking with you guys until she gets in here. But what's everybody's thought on the Dayton shooting? It seems to be the most popular to be talked about right now. So I don't see a lot of people talking about the El Paso shooting. I'd like to know why that is also from you guys. Why does Dayton seem to be more important? Because I'm not going to lie, it seems to be more important with me too. And the research I have done has been on that one and not El Paso. There's got to be a reason for that. And I'd like to know what you guys think. Not everybody answer that at once. Fake manifesto. Let's put that up. We'll put that up there, Dalen. Fake manifesto. Nobody talks about their gear like that. It was professionally written, right? I mean, it looked professionally written anyway, in my opinion. It wasn't long before, it was just like that. We had the manifesto. So yeah, I can get behind that. Hello, Big Kahuna. Any more thoughts on why one shooting is less important than the other shooting? Or, they're both obviously mass shootings. Neither one's more important than the other, but why it seems to be that people are graduating more into research in Dayton than they are El Paso? I'm with you. Professionally written and misspellings, I can definitely get behind that. All right, Debbie says, I want to know what's up with two different pictures of the shooters. I think it was the El Paso shooter, though. It seemed to be all over the board on that shit, on these two shootings, on different pictures and so forth and so on. I'm not here. I didn't come here, so if all my haters think I came here to say this and that was fake or this and that, that's not what you're going to get tonight. So you're going to be highly disappointed. Yes, completely different person. But it seems they did that more kind of with both of them. It might have been more than Route 91. Hey, you could be right. Hey, April, sorry I hadn't been around. I took some time off and stopped watching all the nonsense that's put out about me. So I had a lovely week and a half off, almost 2 weeks. Oh.
I couldn't get the thing to open back up for some reason.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so glad you could join us. I don't know if you were listening, but I was telling them about how you said, 10, 15 minutes. So I gave it 20. And here we are 35 minutes later.
I'm sorry. I couldn't get it. I don't know what the problem was. I couldn't get it to open back up. Are we live?
Well, we've been live for 9 minutes and 33 seconds now.
Wow. Well, hello, everyone. Of course, I can't see the chat because of this snazzy program you want to use. So,
well, you'll have to get another computer, I guess. I don't know what to tell you.
Not where I can. I will be here soon, so I'll be back to my laptop.
I'm actually going to. I don't know how this is playing over there, so okay, we're good.
So the program's working well?
That is a yes. It's working perfectly fine, actually. That is April, the sunset of the lake I go to. That was actually taken by me.
Gosh.
County Poe became a grandpa today. Twins. So congratulations to you. Mama and babies are healthy.
That's good.
That's very good. Room 5, welcome. Angela, welcome. If I missed anybody else, you can't see the chat at all. Is that what you're saying?
No, because if I leave this program,
Oh,
I lose the chat apparently, or I lose the connection.
Hey, Shay J. If I see a comment, if you look at your screen, like say Galen just now, I can put it up on the screen for you and you can read it.
Oh, that's going to be some work.
It's not really. I just hit a button and it shows up on the screen.
Oh, cool. Keep doing that.
I'm not doing every comment like that, but if it's to you, then I'll do it. Okay.
Okay.
So I was talking to them about, and I'd like to lead into that with you, is these mass shootings of why, and I'm guilty of this myself, but why is Dayton seem to be more important than El Paso, or not saying more important, but saying more research than El Paso seems to be which way everyone's turned. I mean, even Cullen's, decided he wasn't going to play with helicopters anymore, and now he's over here.
Well, one video doesn't mean he's given up on Vegas.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding. He definitely ain't giving up on his helicopter. So, and that's fine. He can go with helicopters till the day he dies. That's on him. I got no problems with that.
I read some of the comments on his video, and apparently he seems to think he has something pretty important in regards to Dayton.
What do you think it is?
I have no idea, because I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to discount anything that anybody does or any work that anyone does. I struggle with the helicopters just because I don't see anything significant other than, obviously there is concerning activity with the helicopters, and there's even information in the dispatch logs that don't make a lot of sense with the helicopters, but I don't see any evidence of any shooting from any helicopters. But he seems to be very adamant that occurred. So if I keep that in mind and take that into consideration when I'm thinking about this evidence for Dayton, I have no idea what it could possibly be. I know it's not helicopters. I know that. I know there aren't any helicopters involved. So who knows? I mean, he's piqued my interest.
He did mine too, and I want to see it. And guys, I'm not going to speak for Hoover at all, but it seems Hoover is fed up with the bullshit as we are, as I am. I can speak for myself anyway. Of the just everyday haters. And if you go over there and comment on his shit, expect it back if you don't. Because I guess he's just fed up like I am, man. And instead of doing that, I just left.
Left where?
I mean, I just went off YouTube for a while, a week and a half, or almost 2 weeks. I didn't leave, but.
Well,
I got one for you here.
He's always been a little.
He's ramping it up now, though.
quick to draw his defense, So, right. But yeah, I've noticed that things. Yeah, he's stepping it up a little bit, but I mean, who knows? Who knows where that's coming from? You've got one for me. Where what?
I like this comment by Dalen here. I don't buy the timing of all this.
All as far as the
new mass shootings and.
Well, is he encompassing the FBI warning prior to on Trump encouraging extremist behavior due to somewhat endorsing some Q posts or something like that?
Well, I'm not, and he's right here. He also says, and I'll let you see it, 3 shootings in a week. Don't forget garlic, which he's right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they're ramping it up for a reason, but that's just me. I'm not, again, not saying that right now, but yes, I agree with that also, Debbie. It's awfully convenient it happened in California and then Texas.
Convenient how? What does that mean?
Just the states that the states that California being the way California is, and then down by the border where all the big discussions and everything, I think is what she's saying,
and the fact that he was he's being portrayed as a domestic extremist,
right?
Trump follower. Well, what happened to the four shooters in black that entered the Walmart? I mean, I tried to follow that live as much as I could, and I knew, there were multiple shooters. Even the governor, I believe, said that there were multiple shooters involved with the Walmart shooting. So I'm not really sure how that changed.
I don't know either.
So is that what? Wait, is this now the mass shooting talk versus?
This is the mass shooting talk now.
The Trump talk.
Yes. we're leading.
When did that change?
We're leading into it, okay?
Oh, I see. I thought we were talking about.
Well, we're talking about all of it, but right now it's all mixed in together. So I'll make you a few banners and throw up there. How about that?
Okay. We have any volunteer callers?
Yes, if you want.
Who wants to call in and talk about it?
I like this comment from John Strickland here. Seems to me that it's about a gun grab. I can get behind that. Seems to be, right? 100 round cheap ass drums that that don't even work properly. They damn jam, and I mean it is. And then there's talk of bulletproof vests and stuff. Should they be legal? So yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you, John. All right. Hey, Truth Seeker. Truth in you. Damn, we only have like 17 in here now. There's 44. Holy shit. That's a good one. What about the mental status on the shooters? We're going to have that discussion here shortly. So I've got that one in mind, Matt.
Sorry, I had to mute there for a minute.
Did you hear what I was saying or no?
No. Please repeat.
Matt Gilmore wants I told him we'd talk about this in a minute, but he wants to talk about the mental status of the shooters, and I told him we were going to go into the mental
Okay.
mental health and all that stuff. So we'll leave there in a minute, I guess.
Sure.
We never came on and did anything about garlic. We didn't even say a word. Not even a community post. So maybe we'll run through that one because I've seen some crazy shit in that one. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I'm not going to either. I mean that there are concerning aspects to all three of these events. It is, it is interesting how all three were so close together. I want to say there was a fourth one, wasn't there? But for some reason, that one's not really in a spotlight. Wasn't there another one?
There was actually one in Pennsylvania, I think, that left 1 dead and 5, if I'm not mistaken, injured. But there was another one on that same Sunday night as Dayton in Chicago. And I want to say it left 2 dead and 7 injured, if I can remember correctly.
How many mass shootings have there been in Chicago since Vegas?
I mean, it
makes you wonder.
No,
that's urban violence, though. So
what really makes me wonder, though, is why some mass shootings are brought to light and are blasted across our TV. That's all we can see on every channel. And then some just you never even hear about, unless you go looking for something like that.
Right.
I mean, that should just seem sketchy to a lot of people just right there. I mean, Dalen says they pick and choose to spotlight at events. Well, it makes it seem that way. I mean,
well, it certainly does. I mean, you can go and see how many mass shootings were just on October 1. In the United States, there were several dozen, as a matter of fact, on October 1. So, this is something that happens every day. So the fact that, there are some that are handpicked to, to bring some sort of political movement to light, or some sort of policy or law or bill is very interesting to me.
Well,
it's something I'd like to actually, start to gather more statistics on, and kind of keep a real-time chart on, really.
Well, Matt Gilmore says too many in Chicago happens every day in Chicago. Does a mass shooting happen every day in Chicago, or just shootings?
Well, what they determine to be a mass shooting.
Well, Dalen says it's 4+ is a mass shooting. I'm not sure the correct number on that, but I would think that's pretty close.
I looked at that the definition of that has evolved over the years.
All right, spill it.
I want to say the last time I looked, it was 3. But maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, here's a good good comment. Sorry, by Ann Cook. They only cover the events that support the narrative that the mainstream media wants to push. I can get behind that statement all day.
Well, let's talk about the Gilroy. Break down what you know about the Gilroy shooter.
Well, I'm not more on the shooter as I am the things that were going on inside the venue. I'll let you go with the shooter if you want to, and then I can start.
No, I won't take that one, because I honestly, when that happened, I watched, I want to say it was somebody's video. There were a compilation of videos, and what I saw really gave me a foul feeling in my stomach, and I just decided that it was not something I was going to put my efforts on at the time. I was and still am pretty in depth in some things that I had found on Vegas that I'm trying to finish up and work on. And so I just decided when Gilroy happened, I'm not doing this. I'm not going down this path, So I put it to the side. I've watched some videos and I've seen some very concerning things. I don't understand. I don't understand the fact that you are looking at a bounce house. And I could be wrong on some of these details, but there's a big bounce house right there. And there were people injured right in front from gunshots. That is where gunfire occurred. The bounce house is still completely intact. No collapsing from rapid gunfire. No bullets on any of the white pristine trailers that were around there. I didn't see any evidence of anything that had occurred other than in a concentrated area where two people were. But I haven't looked into it enough to really give much of an opinion on that. So I'm going to leave that one alone. I thought maybe you were talking about it, so you had some more information on it.
No, I guess I wanted to talk about some of the things I've seen in the videos, like the guy covered in straw.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Really not understanding what was going on there. And I guess my main one would be the white truck that seems to pull into the crime scene with a body in the back of it. Supposedly this guy is shot in the leg, I believe.
With the white shorts on?
With the white shorts on, yes.
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
But here's what I don't understand. I watched the video and there's 4 cops that walk by. They look at him. They don't say anything. But the biggest thing to me was that there is a fucking ambulance literally 20 feet across the street. And these people are not carrying him to that ambulance. Blows my mind.
Yeah, that's concerning.
Dead or alive, I don't care. He should have been taken to that ambulance. And no, he was left in back of that truck. When I seen that, it kind of blew my mind. I was like, okay, I was like you, I can't do this anymore. And then of course, 2 more the weekend. Because I'm sitting here in the back of my mind going, how much time have I spent on Vegas and still to this day spend on Vegas? And do I really want to lead myself down another path like that? And then, of course, 2 more.
Right. And that's where I was too. The El Paso one, I could say I got a little more interested in that one. But then I started reading a lot on social media, and
sorry, I need to laugh. I'll show you.
El Paso flatbed shopping carts are the new yellow wheel. Oh, Dalen. I saw that.
Oh, you're watching the chat now?
No, I saw Dalen. I thought you put it up on the screen for Dalen. No, I saw the flatbed cart scene with the woman on the cart. The social media pictures and the pictures on the news where they're showing these shooters, and they do look very similar. Almost like there's, the same person, but maybe a few years difference, or, some alteration, some facial alteration. That's a huge concern to me.
And they keep coming. Check it out.
I didn't hear. Did you guys hear them pushing tourniquets? I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear that. Well, the El Paso one, I watched the guy underneath the rack or whatever he was under, and it bothered me because I'm hearing what's, I guess, gunshots, but not one scream, Not one scream from anyone. I mean, he's not in there wasting bullets. He's not shooting into the ceiling. He's not shooting into the floor. So if he's in there, shooting folks, then shit, I'm a big ass dude, man. But you shoot me, I'd probably scream. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would. I mean, you'd hear something. You'd hear
It's a
something.
natural reaction.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't look into it a lot to the El Paso.
I don't know. The one big thing that bothered me about the El Paso one was there is a still of the Walmart camera of the gentleman who walked in the Walmart with the headphones on, the head protection on, and the cargo pants with the pockets. And then the one that's getting arrested in the parking lot has just khaki pants on. They don't even look like they're the same color exactly, and no pockets. And I don't know if he did a wardrobe change in the dressing rooms, or
Maybe
I don't know.
By the men's aisle.
Maybe he had spare pants for
Well, the shirt looked the same to me. The shirt did
look very screwed up. It reminded me of that commercial that you see where the guys on the first date and his neckline's all screwed up. Because he didn't do his laundry right. He didn't use fabric softener or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Is that true, Marie D?
What? Latest news: mass stabbing. Garden Grove. Mass stabbing. Oh.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's true. She put it up there, so.
Now we have knife violence.
Is this getting the attention on the news that other things are? I don't know. I'm watching you guys, not that. So.
I hate not being able to see the chat. I hate your StreamYard.
Well, I didn't tell you to be in the backyard with the crickets.
I'm where I need to be. I didn't realize you were going to hinder me from a technology standpoint.
Well, I mean, I got to think that you have a tablet, a laptop somewhere in your possession.
Not right now. I don't. Hold that thought.
So we're in the knife band too, huh? Well, we're going to get to dating here in a minute, because that seems to be the one that, for some reason, drew my attention.
Is anybody wanting to call in?
Does anybody want to call in? Jeremiah, yes, I did. And I sent you back an email on that. Thank you. If anybody wants to call in and talk, just let me know. Send me an email, and I'll send you the link, and you'll be in here with us. Jeremiah, when you do get a chance, check that email, though. I do want to talk to you about a few things on that. Oh, I know a question to ask. Dalen, did they find it? Paladin says, any missing hard drives?
I haven't heard that yet.
It wouldn't surprise me if they would say Walmart's or white or some stupid shit like that.
I do wonder why we haven't, why can't we release more footage from the, Walmart has cameras everywhere.
Well, yeah, and I don't understand that. I'm right there with you on that, but I guess that can lead us right into my question for the Dayton Ohio shooting, because just a short 12 to 13 hours, we're getting a PowerPoint presentation, we're getting news conferences, we're getting videos released, we're getting, I mean, all kinds of shit. People, this happened when some people were asleep, and to some people hadn't even got up yet, and they're already releasing the footage and everything. So why is this one different than any of the other? Would be my question.
I'm curious what anyone in the chat has to say before I comment.
Well, Roll Tide, hopefully they don't pass this, any laws that's going to just tear us down. But we're going to lead in that kind of with the POTUS talk here shortly. So I'll get back to that one. And I kind of agree. I mean, I do agree with Paladin. The odds of this stuff is astronomical. It is. Walmart. It was an AR-10. I have to check that one. There are mistakes. There's mistakes all over the place, and I could show a bunch of them, but I'm not going to. That's not what this is about. This was just to allow you guys, if you wanted to come in and talk, you could. Hadn't been on here in a while, so I'll save all the stuff that I've got for another day. I do have some stuff that I will not and cannot show. I gave my word to someone. No. Paladin says it's an attack on Trump. I agree with that. And let's go into the Dayton, and we'll start with the obvious. Again, I don't know. I didn't see too many answering that question. So why do you think, Kale, that they released that footage so fast on that shooting? Because we still haven't seen, a quarter of that from El Paso. Art Gilroy, if I think. We got some videos, but it wasn't.
Okay, well, I will say, and again, I haven't thrown myself into Dayton. I thought this conversation tonight was going to be more politically based, so I wasn't as prepared for us to talk about, these shootings in great detail.
No, we're not. We're just
ready to make any judgment calls on any of it, other than, I have looked at some of the videos from Dayton. I suppose you could say that there's some transparency there, but has anyone seen any body cam footage yet? Because does anyone know what their policy is on body cam?
I don't know. That would be a good.
I haven't looked into that. But my first question is, why don't I'm certainly they wear body cams there, and certainly they would have footage from the body cams. So I've seen a lot of comments about this, immediate transparency. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I do have concerns about things that I have seen, and it does appear, and I've only seen two other videos that are supposed to be the same video that's in the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint that was available on the website for Dayton Police when they gave the presentation, by the way, so that's been available for everyone.
It was available
Public
Saturday
consumption.
afternoon.
I think it was Sunday afternoon, right?
Yeah, sorry, Sunday afternoon. I seen the breaking news story. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, but anyway, that PowerPoint, there's a video in there, and in that video, it does not seem that some of the things that are in that video are actually portrayed the same in other videos that seem to be copies of this one. One being all the smoke that comes out of from the bottom of the car, and maybe someone has insight on that. Maybe the videos stopped before they showed the smoke coming out of the car, but I don't think so, because you know, that's when you see the shooter running up the parking lot after the smoke billows out from underneath the car.
Like I said, I didn't want to go into great detail. I was just skimming over the things that we know or we've seen so far, and then we was going to move on to the politics of the thing.
You're asking me why I think they released the footage, so I'm getting to that.
You go ahead and finish.
Okay. In that same video, you can see where the police approached the suspect and confronted the suspect and shot at the suspect from two different angles. Two police officers were in front of him. He was running up the sidewalk and trying to go into the bar, just past the patio. And then there was there were two officers just in front of him at an angle, I'd say 20 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another officer that came from the street in front of the car that was stopped in front of the bar. And they were both firing, which was kind of shocking to me, because, you know, there were civilians that had literally seconds, just ran right into that bar area where, you know, I'm assuming the cop that was firing, his bullets would have entered that property if, you know, they didn't hit the target. And I did see muzzle flash from his gun, from the officer's gun that's in front of the car. But what I also saw when I slowed that video down quite a bit is what you would only assume would be ammo flying through the air. And I don't see how that could even be possible. I'll leave it at that for right now. I'm going to put you on mute for a minute.
Well, I also slowed that video down into very slow, and I did see what appeared to be ammo flying also, which I don't. It's kind of weird because at that close of range, and I'm sure they probably carry 45s. I just don't see as powerful as that bullet is that you would catch it even on a slow motion camera. And I'll leave it at that because I'm not sure, and we'll get back into that at a later date. But
well, I'm to understand the average bullet on average travels at like 2,500 feet per second.
Yes, that's probably correct. I can look that up though and see here.
On average. And I would just, and there are a few instances where I slowed that down and I could see what goes into the car, an object, what goes into the motorcycle, an object that stays there, lays on the ground. And
all
then
right,
firing at the suspect, there was quite a few.
Just a quick search says the average bullet travels 2,500 feet per second, around 1,700 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that you could see that.
It would be
quite difficult.
It would be quite difficult.
I mean, I just don't see how you could see any of that.
Let's see here. Since I've seen a few comments in there, let's see what it says here. All right, the standard issued military 45 travels at approximately 830 feet per second when fired from a government issued pistol, which is normally what cops carry, and approximately 950 feet per second from a Thompson machine gun. Didn't mean to read that, but just giving you an idea here of. So even at 830 feet per second, you're still not going to be able to catch that on camera, slowing it down because I don't know. But anything left on that? Because I do want to move into how this affects the president and.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I wasn't prepared to talk. Yeah, I have a lot to say about that, but I really think that we should leave it there for right now because I don't want to make any judgment calls. I know there are people that are in the Vegas community that seem to be from that area of the country, and I'm not interested. I'm not interested in going in any to battle with anyone on this stuff. I mean, I have my opinions. I'm going to be thorough about my opinions. I know what I've researched so far is very questionable on all three. The timing and the statistically speaking, the odds of this type of activity in different areas of the country, and then you want to bring into the equation the extremist mindset and the political views of one, and let's not forget the mental health of another. The odds of that occurring after this this release on the FBI talking about how concerned they are about Trump and spawning these extreme decisions or activities is damn impossible. I mean, it's really hard to swallow. So yeah, with that being said, we can go right into how I feel about how this is a push on our president.
Well, I also think it's a push on our president. I mean, they come out. Okay, you had the El Paso, and it's one thing that kind of turned me off against it when they just immediately come out and say, "Oh, he was a Trump supporter," and Hispanics and this and that and the other, and that kind of just turned me away from that whole thing. But then in this Dayton shooting, it turns to leftist Elizabeth Warren follower, So why do you think the difference?
This is just my opinion. I think the difference is we're looking at this. We're not supposed to be looking at the political views of the Dayton shooter, which is, in my opinion, partly why we're seeing, an interview from the girlfriend who talks about his mental health and goes into great detail about his mental health. Because we are not supposed to forget as Americans, the how important it is to limit the capabilities of someone who might be considered mentally unstable, and that we are not we are supposed to support some sort of control or some sort of policy, government policy on being able to limit that that type of ability for someone to be able to access weapons within that state of mind. It's all about control. It is all about control. It's government control. And I do feel like I have a right to speak on that. I do feel like I have, this type of thing, has affected my family directly. And, and I still do not support government control and the government being able to determine if someone is mentally unstable and should be able to take away their weapons. I do not support that. Do I feel like there could be checks and balances in place that could be fair and just, based on each individual situation? I think that can happen. There can be some policies and procedures and laws put into place, but I do not feel that it should be some sort of blanket Baker Act bullshit.
Right. And I guess she left us for a second, but when she gets back, I'll ask the question. Let's see what Truth Seeker had to say. Why? Well, it's funny. I mean, the timing of this thing's funny. We are entering a political season where we're going to vote the next president in, and in my opinion, hands down, Trump. You put all 20 of them together, I don't think they'd make a good president over there. How many's over there? I don't know. They grow in numbers every day.
Sorry, I had to step away for a second.
All right, I guess.
Go ahead.
What would be? Let's just get the elephant in the room out. The red flag laws that Trump came out on, I believe, was Monday, and stated. That's going to obviously, say anyone can say you're mentally unstable, and then you lose your right to carry a gun, and you're pretty much treated like a felon after that. So I want to know what you think on that. Then, but I have some things I want to say about that also.
Okay. Well, first of all, he did not say. He did say that he feels that there should be some, basically some checks and balances, or there should be something in place to ensure that there are protections in place for people who are deemed mentally unstable. What those checks and balances are, he didn't go into great detail about, how those would be worked out, what exactly those would include. He said he would be working closely with those agencies in order to ensure that that these protections are going to be in place, right? Isn't that correct?
Correct.
As far as having to address the situation, what would we expect him to do based on the fact that there have now been 3 mass shootings, 2 within 13 hours? One, a huge mental illness push, and the other one, a white supremacist angle, that allegedly, people think that Trump support, this white supremacy bullshit.
Actually, I want to read this to you since you said that. I saved a tweet today to my phone, and I actually want to read it right quick to you.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find it here. I swear I saved it. All right, I'll continue to look for it, but it was very good. I meant to send it to you if I didn't, but
no, I don't remember you sending that to me. But we do have to, there should be some checks and balances in place that are rational, that don't hand over government control. But just as responsible human beings, I know that you can look at this in a couple of different ways, and when if you from a constitutional perspective, as long as you are not harming other people, and as long as you are, you're responsible, I mean, you have the right to bear arms. But there is that, there's that area then, well, how do we ensure the not harming other people aspect, right?
Right.
And there is for various reasons, um, there is a mental health aspect in our society today that is a much more serious issue than it ever has been. And so that is something that, as responsible humans, we need to consider. And I don't think it's a Democratic point of view or a Republican point of view. It should be a human point, a human being point of view. It should be just a point of view of, having compassion for others, and responsibility, and just to ensure that we are safe as Americans. And I think that there are, checks and balances that can be put into place that don't just hand over government control, on who can be determined to be mentally unfit, and also how that will affect their right to own a weapon. And in Trump's case, I really don't, what was he expected to say? What would you expect him to say after there is this incredible political push and this political agenda, worldwide? We're not just talking nationwide, worldwide. There's this incredible political agenda, and it all is, based on these horrific crimes. And somehow, some way, our president is solely responsible for all of that. It's fucking ridiculous, excuse me, but it is. It's just absolutely insane to have this tremendous amount of rhetoric and fodder just constantly 24 hours a day, pointed towards our president, as if he has been able to influence someone in such a way, that they would pick up a gun and kill people, or that he has prevented some sort of mental health balance for people who have allegedly been suffering from a mental illness for years, and have access to guns. This should not be a political agenda. We should not be relying on politicians to ensure that we can check on our neighbors or check on our family, and ensure that they get the health checks that they need, or the health assistance that they need. That shouldn't be a responsibility of your president or your governor or your congressman or congresswoman. That's your responsibility as a human being. If you see something that you're concerned about, and it's in your family or it's a friend of yours, that's something that we as human beings should be taking on as individuals, and not taking to social media and pointing your finger at a president, because there's just this incredible push for this political agenda with every media outlet out there. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this incredible push. And when I say that, there was a show, I think it was TMZ, And I don't know who in here watches high impact blogs, which is Brian. Can't remember his last name right now. He's got longer hair, and he's honestly a great channel to subscribe to if you're not sub to him. But he did a live last night, and he was showing an exchange between Barry Levin, the TMZ host, and I honestly can't remember who they had on. That's not important. Who he had on, or who was on the TMZ show, but the topic was incredibly interesting. Excuse me, and important. And there was just this push from Barry Levin to want to know that the question is why don't we just ban, he called them assault weapons, which of course he was corrected, and then it changed to semi-automatic. So why can't we just ban those weapons? Why can't we ban AR-15s? What is the pushback? Why can't we just do that? And there was just this incredible push about Trump, this, Trump, it's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault that he didn't go out. He didn't even talk about gun control. He didn't talk about, and he actually did. I mean, he actually did speak about gun control in relation to the red flag laws. But I see this constant push for blaming Trump for these mass shootings, and for and trying to label Trump as a racist, when all he is trying to do is protect the country, when we're talking about the border protections too, and we're constantly targeting the president for action that he's taking in a capacity as our president of the United States, to ensure that we have secure borders, to ensure that we have border protections. Is that because he's a racist? Is that because he wants to make America white again? No, people, pull your head out of your ass. It's because we have human trafficking on those borders. We have drugs flowing in on those borders. We have illegal activity on those borders. We have gang members, flooding into America on those borders. But there's this constant push to make him, this white supremacist, piece of shit who has this Israeli agenda. And when I see that, you can't ignore the fact that, Americans have decided to constantly blame our politicians, constantly blame our government for things that we should be responsible for as individuals, as Americans, for things that we should be taking more action on. And it's honestly disgusting to me.
Well, to interrupt you for a second, I've seen some of these, right-wing people who support Trump to the fullest come out this week and kind of, they don't like what he had to say about the red flag law. I would consider myself a huge Trump supporter. So, and I do understand that he had to come out and say something. I mean, what was he to do? I think any Republican president that's in that seat with 3 mass killings in 1 week, they have to speak up. They have to do something, especially in election season. I mean, but take elections season away, you still have to come out and tell the American people something. Now, whether red flag laws is the best thing to do, I don't know. But apparently him and his team came up with, and again, like you stated, he's not told you what those red flag laws are going to be yet. So we just can't assume that they're just going to be the worst for all of us, that we're going to they'll be at our door to take our guns tomorrow. You can't assume that. And in order to do it, you'd have to make it a federal law. Am I correct? And then
No,
well,
no.
state laws can do it.
Well, you can make federal laws, but the state is your governing, entity. So then, or is the state going to recognize the federal law? It really just, and that's part of the problem that we see today. Once depending on what the position is of the state, in question. I mean, do you think Missouri's going to just accept that? Hell, Missouri wanted to make it a law that everyone owns an AR-15.
Yes, I did see that.
Well,
but I'm saying if you tried to make it a federal law, then it would go through all kind of court systems, and by the time it hits the Supreme Court, it'd be gone. In my opinion, I would think, because I don't know, just going into that. But yes, it's a very touchy thing, and to put all this off on the president, you're right, it's bullshit. Everything about it is bullshit, and I do agree with you. And you made a bunch of great statements there, and kind of took a bunch of what I was going to say. But I just don't understand what people want from the guy. What was he supposed to come out and say? You know what? Everybody gets an AR-15. The hell with it. I mean, does he get reelected that way? No. He had to do something, and I'm sure him and his team had a long discussion about it, and I personally can't wait to see what they're actually talking about.
Well, again, he's in a position where you are expected to take action, and but you're backed into a corner as far as what action that can be, especially because there is such. Let's just say that these shootings, regardless of the details and that they were exactly as they said. Okay, let's just say that. Take out all the questions, all of them. Vegas, Garlic, El Paso, Dayton, all of them. It went down exactly the way they said.
Okay.
What is it that you expect your president to do about it? Where is the push on the local level where you have to take some responsibility as a citizen? Where is your responsibility in this? Where is your mayor, your governor, your neighbor, your police department? Where is the support for this? How can we expect one man to be responsible for a nation that has had years of suffering from a mental health perspective? I mean, we've had years of so many society based issues, right? I mean, whether it's your education, your schooling, your mental health, your medical health, your work history, your access to work, your financial status, whatever it is, each individual and each local governing body, we.
Did we lose you? She was here and then she was gone. Craig H., I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't think that anybody is disagreeing, and I don't know exactly where she went or what happened there because she's not muted, but she stopped talking live stream.
Okay. Could you just hear me the whole time?
No, we could not. You went out.
Okay. I don't know what happened there. Well, I don't know what you heard me say last, but basically what I'm saying is, what I'm seeing from this perspective of, Trump, how dare Trump say this, or how, or Trump needs to do something about this, or, whatever it is. I don't get why, there's been this shift over the years, and now it's worse than I've ever seen, as to why there isn't some sort of individual and local responsibility for, things that are occurring in this country. Because overall, there has been a lot of improvement in this country over the last 2-3 years, but we ignore that. And, and when we have, tragic events like this, it becomes one man's responsibility versus an individual responsibility, or an individual, do your part. And what I was saying is, I live in a neighborhood now, and I think about over the years how things have changed. If you saw a neighbor that was, that was in distress before, when I was a kid, growing up, in my neighborhood, when we grew up, our neighbors helped each other. They were there to help each other. That isn't what you see in this day and age. You don't see that now. You're not seeing the neighborly approach. You're not seeing the neighborly support that I experienced and grew up with as a kid. And that's not just, I'm not isolated in that. This is an ongoing issue that you see nationwide, worldwide, really. We are becoming isolated individuals where we are not neighbors. We live next door to each other, but we don't even know our neighbors. You know what I mean? And that's part of our problem. We cannot hold one man responsible for something that the entire nation should be taking responsibility for. It's just not going to work like that.
I agree with that, and again, I seen some haters on it, but I think more people are going to stand behind him trying to do something other than do nothing, and that's just my opinion. And I don't even think he just flat out called for him. He said maybe, didn't he?
He said he's going to be, working closely with those agencies. But he had to address the fact that there was such a push for the mental health for that shooter. He had to address it, just like he had to address, the white supremacy, label for the El Paso shooter. He had to do it. It had to be addressed.
I agree with that.
I'm going to tell you, I'm not sure what's going on with my phone, because it, again, sitting on the charger, and the battery's being eaten alive. So if I lose you, that's why. And I'll try and, yep, battery died.
Well, we can still hear you, so. I don't know if she's there or not, but I don't think he flat out called for him, Marie. He called out. He said some other things, and me and her were supposed to go into it, but I will do it since she's not here. And one thing we talked about was video games, first shooter video games. Now, back when I was a kid, we had those old John Madden games, and we had our first series PlayStation, and we go in, play some John Madden, and then we go out in the backyard, and as kids, you dream to be, like those, it's just a way of life. And now it seems to be that all these Call of Duty games, these first-person shooter games, and these kids, they sit in these houses, in these rooms, and They've got all this, nice shit, and they make these games so real nowadays. I don't know if you guys have played Call of Duty lately or even know what that is, but if you haven't, then go on YouTube and look up Call of Duty. I'm sure you'll find a million videos. Gaming is huge. And it's not, to me, and the same thing I told her in the conversation we had today, is that it's not healthy. It's not healthy for kids to just sit around for hours upon hours upon hours killing people. It's not. So I don't know if they do something there. I don't know, but I read a stat today that kind of blew me away, and I haven't discussed this with her, but I'll discuss it with you guys, is that 26 of the last 27 mass shooters don't have a father. I found that to be interesting. Is that what we're missing here? I mean, what's the deal? And look, that's why we wanted to have this discussion, because I knew everybody wasn't going to agree. I actually knew someone in here's thoughts before I even brought this to this live, and it's no way in arguing with her or arguing with anyone. It's just, I think this kind of thing needs to be talked about. And again, while she's not here and her phone's charging, anybody wants to come in and talk with me can talk. Angela, if you want to come in, I can send you the link. True Seeker, Shady, whoever. Marie, Aylin, Kim. Oh, I do got an email. Hold on a second here. I don't know who it's from, but give me 1 second, man. This is a new program, but you can go in on your phone if that's what you're using, or you can go in on your computer or laptop or whatever. But you can use both. But it's going to take you to your internet browser and not to an actual app. You don't have to download an app or anything. So just give me 1 second. I'll send that invite out to you, and you can come on. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. There we go. All right, we'll have a guest on here in just a minute. I'm trying to catch up what you guys are saying. I seen Marie say something. Marie, maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed that he was calling. I could have swore he said we need to talk about these things. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, I'll go back and watch it. And I'm man, let's say if I'm wrong. So everything is different these days. I mean, think about this 20 years ago. Think about me right now talking to 42 people, and every one of them from a different place. What's really, really wrong with this world is exactly what we're doing right now. That's it. We have a 24-hour news cycle. People can look and get any damn thing they want from any part of the world they want. And there's no boundaries. I mean, literally, there are no boundaries. I mean, I was watching some things on the deep web the other day, and, you know, I knew there's crazy shit going on down there, but I wasn't like, you can buy guns, drugs. I mean, on the internet, it's, I don't know. It's crazy. It's a crazy world that we live in with the technology that we do have, and it's only getting stronger day by day by day. And that's going back to the same thing as these multi-shooter games. I mean, I imagine in 5 years there's going to be actual damn people. You're going to be able to dress yourself up as someone who can go out and kill a bunch of people in Call of Duty 2025 or whatever the hell they might call it at that point in time. And to me, I just don't think that's healthy for kids. So give me 1 second. I'm going to add my guest here. Mr. Matt Gilmore, did we got you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you fine, brother. Go ahead. It's on your mind.
Okay, just hold on 1 second. I got to adjust my volume here.
Okay. If it's echoing in your ear, it's because you're doing what I did and had the stream still playing.
No, I had my my volume setting on coming through my speakers, and I want to do it through my headphones. So
okay, I got you. And while you're doing that, I'll tell everybody here, this app is in beta testing right now. It's called StreamYard. It's actually a pretty damn easy app to use. So if any of you guys who do live streaming or whatever, there is a free version. You'll have a little bird up in your right hand corner. You won't be able to do like backgrounds like I have, and that. I'm a sucker when it comes to new programs. You guys already know that one, but this one seems to be streaming and doing everything well. So just thought I would throw that out there.
Is KL still on here? Or
no, her phone died. She will be back in about probably 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to talk about the what KL was saying.
Okay.
About, you know, how we have to be responsible and whatnot. And I agree with her on that. But also, I mean, if you look at the Parkland shooting, and the this kid was reported to the FBI twice, and nothing was done about it. All right. So what about the people that are reporting others, and nothing's being done about it? No action is being taken.
I agree in that. And what's your solution to that? What are you thinking about that? Because you are right. He was reported multiple times.
Yeah, he was reported twice. And then if you look at the Aurora, Colorado shooting that happened back in 2012, he was under a psychiatric doctor's care. And the psychiatric doctor said that he was a danger to society. And his doctor reported him to her supervisor, hey, we got to do something about this guy, and nothing was done about that.
So which way do you feel like, I mean, okay, going back to the red flag laws, and say I live in one of the smallest states. Everybody knows I live in South Carolina, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if 150 calls are made a day, are they to go to every single time? Every single time somebody, maybe today Matt Gilmore don't like me and says, "Hey, South Carolina Police Department, Truth Bomb has guns and I don't like him."
That's
what's the boundaries? I mean, what are the boundaries?
No, I understand where you're coming from, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, these people who are seriously going to be doing something, and they have been reported and nothing was done about it. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, I mean, I totally understand it, but it just leads me into thinking that, okay, the people that have done things are the people that are going to do things. That's where I'm getting that distinction there. But I don't know. It's very interesting to me, and it's a very who knows how many calls they had on this guy or that guy that day, and why they didn't pick up Cruz, I don't know. And why they didn't. I mean, the guy was in the backyard waving around. If I'm not mistaken, am I correct? Waving around. He was waving around a pistol or some kind of gun.
But he was doing something. He was like shooting or something.
Yeah, in his backyard.
He was reported online because I guess he had posted something online. I don't know if it was a video or some rhetoric or something. And somebody who saw it online and reported it to the FBI.
Right.
And it was done twice.
So I guess, I mean, I understand totally what you're saying. I get it. I guess just the thing that I don't know is like, like the first question, I brought to you, I know it's not what you're saying, but okay, we can't go back and fix those mistakes. And
no, we can't. But what about future ones?
Exactly. So are red flag laws going to do that? I mean, or is it just going to create a big ass?
Well, whether you have laws or not, that's not going to make any difference. The point I was trying to make is that, concerned citizens are reporting people, I mean, just think about it this way. If you knew somebody that was, mentally deranged, had mental issues, and you knew that they were going to go out and do something, and you reported that person to the police, and nothing was done about it.
Right.
I mean, if you're out there trying to prevent something from happening and the police don't do anything about it, and you're super serious about this, I mean, law enforcement's not even bothering about it.
Well, I'm in agreement with you there, and I just don't know how to fix it. I guess that.
Well, I don't know how to fix it either, but the point I'm trying to make is that there are people out there, concerned citizens, that are reporting people who are a danger to society, and something, they're going to do something to somebody or hurt themselves or hurt others, and it's being ignored. That's the point I'm trying to make here.
I agree. I mean,
something needs to be done about that. So, and if you're reporting it to the authorities and the authorities just don't pay attention to it, then, who's in the wrong?
I'm man. I mean, I don't have any words, but to say what I think we could do in the future, and that would also require the law enforcement to actually check out all these things and to actually do their damn jobs when
exactly. And they're not doing that when it comes to this.
Okay, here's a good question for you, and I'll put it up on the screen. And it's Miss Dawn. She says, "What can the authorities do?" I mean, okay, say my next door neighbor is crazy, and I call the law, and what can I do to him? I mean, as laws right now, what would you think?
Well, if the person is mentally incapacitated or has mental issues, and it's documented that this person has issues, normally they're usually taken to a hospital to be checked out. If, that this person is a danger to himself or others, or if they're, not on their medications or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and Paladin made an interesting statement here, and he says the authorities don't want to do anything, and I agree with that. It's just there's something else that's going on here that we're not. That maybe it's happening behind the scenes. I don't know, but
well, I agree with you. I mean, there's something going on.
If they want,
either they're being told not to do anything about it, I don't know, but it's not. To me, there's something going on.
I'm in agreement. So I don't know. I just know that it's very strange that they're not checking up on these things, especially when the guy was caught on multiple times, not just once.
And this was the FBI that was told about it.
Correct.
The FBI. I mean, come on. I mean, you would think after all the stuff with Vegas and that fiasco, they would have stepped up and at least looked into it.
Absolutely. And I wish KL was on for this one because, she probably has a little more insight or thoughts on it than, I do. It just leads me towards the future and how to fix it. But I don't think there's no way of fixing things that you don't want to fix or I don't, some of this gun control, and I get on here and I say it all the time. I say it about Vegas 100 times, it's gun control. It's gun control. They just want to take the guns and they do all this crazy shit.
I believe responsible gun owners should be able to keep their guns. This isn't about the responsible gun owners. This is about people who are a danger to themselves and others.
Right.
Because if you look at the data, a good majority of these individuals who have committed these crimes have had some type of mental breakdown.
Well, there's Paladin says that they want more gun control. If they did something about this, it would stop some of the stuff, and then they could pursue more gun laws and blah, blah, blah. But they don't do anything. So therefore it leads back to what we were talking about, Trump, whether you hate him or you love him, there's no in between, apparently. Right. And I don't know, man. It's just all this whole weekend, everything that happened this weekend is just crazy to me. And
well, it is crazy. 2 mass shootings within not even 12 hours.
Right.
13 hours, whatever it was.
And I had told, a few friends that I talked to that they are ramping this thing up for some reason. And I fully predicted that there could be one this week or next week. I don't know.
You just never know. It could happen tomorrow. Something could be going on right now as we're speaking. We don't know until we get notification of it.
Well, I think Marie D brought up to us that, there was a stabbing in some place in California where 4, I think she said maybe 2 dead and 4 injured or 4. I'm not sure which one, but.
Yeah, I don't know.
She does have a question for us, though, so I'll put it up here. Can you read that?
Yeah, I can see it.
I'll let you take the lead on that one.
I don't know where all the people are calling out the FBI. I remember when this shooting happened, the Parkland shooting, and people were doing it. I mean, there was a big question, why didn't the FBI do anything?
Absolutely.
And nothing was said. Nothing was done. I mean, there was just no. It was like it was swept under the rug. And that was that.
So I guess I want to ask you, and I kind of have already, but any solutions? Anything you think besides them do their damn jobs when people are calling on them? Or is there any... I mean, don't get me wrong.
Well, it definitely needs to be looked into. I mean, if somebody comes to law enforcement, whether it's the FBI or your local police department, and you have information about something, about an individual who is planning on doing something, and you're fearing for his life and the lives of others, they should look into it. They should do their job. Okay,
well, I'm going to put KL's comment on here. It says we shouldn't be looking to the government for answers on mental health. We should be looking at our communities. Well, what Matt's saying is when our communities call the FBI and say, hey, look, the Parkland guy is, something's not right here, and they get ignored for that. then I have a solution, Matt. I have one. If a call is made, especially multiple times to an agency, and the people who take that damn call, they should be charged with the same damn crime.
I agree.
How about that? Does that fix this shit? Does that get law?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't fix it. But if that call goes into the FBI, then that call should be taken care of. That person who takes that call, I'm sure that there's protocol for when tips come in, and that call is routed to whoever is supposed to take it.
Right, and then leads to what Miss Shady J's here saying, false police reports on people, like, say someone doesn't like me, they put out false police report. I don't know.
If somebody's making a false police report on somebody, then shame on them. Okay. If I decide to file a police report on you just because, then I'm being stupid. Or vice versa. This is something that, it's a serious thing where somebody is going to do something to somebody or multiple people and nothing is being done about it. That is what the problem is. And it should be handled correctly. And it's not.
Give me 1 second, man. I'll let you. I got to get this link. We're actually going to bring on another guest, if that's all right with you.
That's fine.
I won't be able to tell the two of you apart, but hey. I just sent the link to Paladin. I think he's going to come on the show too. So
okay,
we'll go with that. But
well, I know Paladin.
I watched the show that you guys did together. Very good, by the way.
Thank you.
And I want to, I'm just a good old boy from South Carolina, man. I don't have those radio voices like you guys. I just say what comes to my damn head and whatever,
I don't know. It must be a Midwestern thing. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I wasn't equipped with that. So I go with the whole South Carolina vibe and just keep going with it.
Go with what you're good at, man.
That's right.
If that's what you're good at, hey, go for it.
The Roll Tide says this won't go well in the Deep South. You're right. It won't.
Yeah, it won't.
But one of my senators is up there pushing for this shit to happen, Lindsey Graham. So I guess we'll see. We were one of the first states to ban the bump stop. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, hold on a second. I think Paladin came in.
There he is.
All right, Paladin, you're on with us whenever you want to unmute.
Howdy, boys.
Hey, Paladin, how are you?
Okay. This is a complicated issue. First of all, with the cops, you can call them all you want to, but unless this person that you're calling them on has committed a crime, they're not going to do anything because they can't do anything. Okay. So that's the dilemma that somebody out there is creating. Because if you look at these, if you look at Paddock, you look at Vegas, you look at these shootings. Okay, well, all these guys went through the background checks and blah, 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 and they still got the guns. Okay, so what does that tell you? Well, that tells you that they're trying to come in with new laws, stricter laws. That's what it tells you. Because I just saw something the other day, Matt. 7 people got killed in Chicago. Did we hear anything about that over the weekend? 50 people got shot. 7 people got killed. Now, I'm sure those are probably, those are probably normal numbers for Chicago.
Yes, it is. I'm in the Chicago area. So
yeah. So why isn't anybody saying anything about that? And I'm not trying to downplay this. I'm just saying.
No, I totally
you know
agree
what I'm
with you on
saying?
that.
And
No,
so,
I totally agree with you on that. And let me tell you what's being done about it. Absolutely nothing.
right. Okay, so what we've got here, and I think, damn KL, I was thinking about this today, and I came up with the same thing. It's like, how would you do this? And it is the community's responsibility for to watch out for our neighbors, to watch out for our family, to
Right.
watch out
I totally agree with that.
because you're not going to be able to get the police. Once you start down the road of making a subjective decision about who can have guns, and you got a problem, and it's never you're on the way to guns will be gone. That's what that will start if you go down that road, because it's a subjective opinion. Okay.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because you ought to go to a courtroom sometime and watch how they get this expert up for this side and this expert up for that side when it's a criminal case and somebody wants to try the insanity plea.
Right.
Okay. You got one doctor that says, oh yeah, the guy's insane. This is the defense. And then you got the prosecution that comes in with their guy and he says, oh no, he's saying he knew exactly what he was doing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a slippery slope to go down. And, you got to all take a look at what are we seeing here? We're seeing people who, have gone through the background checks. I mean, for the most part, we're seeing that, right?
Right.
They're owning a gun legally, but they're still going out and doing this. So
exactly.
the message is, well, our gun laws aren't strong enough. Okay. That's the message that's putting out there. Now you got to ask yourself, why is that? Why is all these incidents, all these people own guns legally? How could that be? I mean, wouldn't you think maybe one, maybe two of these numerous, shootings that we're having are done by people who got a gun illegally? They're a convicted felon. I mean, does that not cross anybody's mind?
Well, I'm with you, Paladin, but the state I live in, it is not illegal to sell guns. You don't have to have like a person to person can, buy a gun, and nobody's going to check a background check or whatever. So, do you take that law out of place where you can only transfer a gun with paperwork? I mean,
no. Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about the Second Amendment, I'm not going to make anybody happy with the way I feel about it. So, I probably should not go down that road. And it's not about doing backgrounds or not doing backgrounds to determine who should have a firearm. That's not what this is about. My point is, did it not occur to anybody that the odds of these shootings, the recent shootings happening, are they not astronomical?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so let's go down that road. What the hell does that tell you? Do you think these are just random? I mean, there's a problem here, guys. There's definitely a problem, but that's not the problem. I mean, the mental capacity of people and all that, that's not the problem. We got a different problem here that we're not looking at. Okay. And I'll go back and I'll ask the question again. Why is it that all these shootings that we're having, every single one of them, unless I'm mistaken about one or two, every single one of them, these people have gotten their guns legally. Now, why is that? What are the odds of that happening? What are the odds of these mass shootings being committed by everybody who is a legal gun owner? What does that say? Does that not concern everybody?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it concerns me.
Okay, so what does it mean? The hell does it mean?
There's an agenda here.
You goddamn right there's an agenda here. God, please, people, look at what is going on. This is I, I'm sorry. I just, this is, I mean, you go down that road of the mental thing, and they're already trying this. They're already doing this with the veterans. They take these kids and they send them to these wars and they train them how to kill, and
Mhm.
they train them on all these police tactics. They're all police tactics. Talk to guys who have been to Iraq, and ask them what they did over there. They went door to door and terrorized people.
Right.
Okay. That's
I
what's
I
coming
actually
here.
had a roommate who was in Iraq and was served on the front lines, and he was going
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
like you were saying.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to find, they're it's under the guise of they're looking for somebody or whatever the hell it is, okay? Whatever the reason is.
Hmm.
And so they train these guys to do all this stuff, and they want to bring them when they come home and they get out, they want to bring the ones that they can into the police department, and the rest of them, you know what they want to do? They want to take their guns away. They want to take their ability to own guns away from them. All right?
Hmm.
And the reason is because the mental stuff that they're going through when they come back over here. So they use them, they dispose of them, they bring them back, and then they want to start taking their rights away from them. Okay, and that's just, I just went down a little road there, guys, that probably doesn't have a whole lot to do with what we're talking about. But I mean, there's control being, this is a manipulation, this is control, and that's what we have to start understanding, because we get stuck in these kinds of discussions. And the thing of it is, that's what they want. They want us to go along with it. They want to say, oh yeah, we give up, gosh, everything that we're doing now is not working, so we need to get tighter and tighter and tighter. And you start going to the mental capacity route, where you have people who can function in society just fine. Okay. They're not felons. They're not, they don't get arrested for anything, but somebody determines, based on just their opinion, that they can't own a gun. It's over, guys. It's over. It's all over. It's just all over.
Well, let me ask you, Paladin, about the red flag laws then, and how do you feel about those? Because basically what you just said kind of goes way away from that.
Well, you know what? The thing of it is, to me, I think people, I think the founders, let's go back to the founders. And I get it was 200 and almost 50 years ago. I get it. Okay. I get that. But they put this in as the Second Amendment for a reason. It wasn't the first, because they felt free speech was more important than this. But this is second, and there's a reason for that. Okay. And I have always had a problem, because I have never, I mean, the copy of the Constitution I have says that, you can own a gun. And it doesn't have a caveat that says, except if you're a felon, except if you're this, except. That's not in my Constitution. And I feel like everybody has a right to defend themselves. So when you go to the point where now we're going to have some doctor somewhere determining whether this person is a risk to society or whatever, if we're going to do that, I think that we have to have a mechanism by which they can function in society, or at least have a mechanism where they can be supervised or watched or whatever, that doesn't have anything to do with guns. Because if somebody needs help, we should be giving it to them, not because they're a danger to themselves or society, because we are a benevolent society and we should be taking care of our people.
As we're not.
Yeah, we're not.
I mean, look at the mental health system.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's
crumbling. Funding is being taken away from that.
Right. And is it a reasonable request that we can take care of our people? However, whatever that takes. And I think KL, I think she had a good point. That should be up to the families and the friends and the neighbors, and everybody in the community should be able to handle that, where you don't need the government to intervene to determine whether this person mentally qualifies to own a gun or not.
I stand behind that.
I mean, that's just, that's a slope that that's a road we don't want to start going down, because I think if we do, then we're toast. It's over. It's all over. It's all over. It'll just be a matter of time, because it's an incremental thing. And they'll just keep going and going and going and going until nobody has guns except them.
Well, there's what, 300 million guns is what they say is the number.
Yeah, I don't have any idea.
I mean, how many guns are made a day? Can you only imagine? There's got to be more than that. I guess that's an estimate, but
yeah, I mean, people, we use them for hunting and we use them to protect ourselves. So I don't know. I just don't. This mental health thing is just it's really a bad way to go, and that's what they're pushing.
okay, Paladin and Matt, I will.
And and one more thing, TB, and then you can go ahead. And it's always that there's always a manifesto, there's always a profile that they put out there for these people, right? And you read this profile, or you hear this profile, and you think, gee whiz, that person really sounds like a criminal, and they've got a clean record. So it doesn't match to me. It just doesn't match. It's in other words, the person that they're describing. This is the first incident, just like Paddock. Paddock went through his whole life. He didn't commit any crimes, never got charged with a crime, never did anything wrong, and all of a sudden he flips out and he kills all these people. I mean, come on, guys. I can't believe they're even trying to sell us on this stuff. Go ahead.
I agree.
All right, my question, I guess, to both of you, because I didn't get Matt's, but I did get KL's, and I want your guys' opinion on it. Also, is Trump? What do you think? I mean, we made our statements on Trump, but I would like to hear yours on what he could do coming out on Monday in a press conference, because I'm firmly believing that he couldn't do nothing. He had to do something. So how do you feel about his press conference on Monday and where that all led?
I didn't even see the press conference.
All right, well, you need to watch that one, because it was kind of important. I think you'll have some opinions on it, definitely, if you watch it.
I'm sure I will.
Okay, I saw it, and Kale and I talked about this, and I said he had to do something. He's got to say something. As far as him doing anything, I don't know how much he can do, because he doesn't really make the laws. He signs the laws, so it's really up to Congress. The House and the Senate have to put something together, and then they have to send it to him, and he has to sign it. So I think we're a long way off from something like that. But as far as what he said, I mean, I don't worry about too much about what he said, because he had to say something. He had to come out and he had to say something. And so based on the environment that he's in, where, they're blaming him for this, of course, I didn't hear anybody blame Barry Soetoro for the other shootings that happened while he was president. But of course, Trump, and this is, I mean, if you follow my line of thinking there earlier, you'll see that there's no coincidence that this stuff is happening when it's happening. And the reason it's happening now is because they know what's coming. The Epstein files, the FISA stuff, the IG report. I mean, there's going to be some stuff coming down in the next 2 or 3 months. And so they know it in Washington. They all know it. All the people know it. The people, the deep state, the shadow government, call them whatever you want to. They know what's coming. And so they're trying to get a distraction, and they're trying to get Trump out of office. And if they can't do that, they want him to not get reelected. So, you're probably going to see Congress. They're going to stall on this impeachment stuff, and they'll start that probably next year. So during the campaign next November, they can say, well, the president's under impeachment, or he's been impeached in Congress, or whatever. They're going to use that. They got to get Trump out because they're desperate. These recent shootings are just more of that, more That's what that's all about. Now, long term, yeah, they want to take our guns away, but short term, it's going to serve to put more pressure on Trump because the Russia thing didn't work, the collusion didn't work, so they're going to have to move to something else while they're still able to. And that's the way. I mean, that's what I think. Because if you look at the numbers, and I'm not trying to downplay any of these incidents as far as the seriousness of it, if people die, people get injured, people get their lives change forever, but there's a lot more things in this world that cause a lot more harm to us. If you look at the statistics, just like I said, Chicago, 50 people got shot, 7 people got killed. I haven't heard a damn word about that, and that happens pretty much every
weekend.
Yeah, every weekend, and it's probably similar in LA, similar in New York, similar in Houston, similar in.
But we don't hear about that.
Exactly.
Regardless of where it is, we don't hear about it. But if there's a mass shooting in Podunk, some small town, Walmart or whatever, it's all over the news.
Right. And that's what we need to be looking at. That's what we need to be focused on, because see, a lot of this stuff in these cities, I mean, a lot of the majority of the gun violence in the US is because of felons who own guns. And that's what the police should be. That in my opinion is what the police should be looking at. That's what they should be focusing on. But they're not. They're not.
Like I said, nothing's being done about it. I mean, I've been in the Chicago area all my life. I'm originally from Chicago. I've had, my father was a Chicago police officer. He was a homicide detective. I mean, he's been there, done that, seen it all. I mean, the stories that he's told me, man, I go on for days.
Well, if I can ask the question here, and either of you can answer, but do you think it's tied into militarizing the police to the point where it's run more like a military than it is an actual police department? Like making, I guess what I'm trying to say is a different kind of agency that, and you know what that means. I mean, that's basically bringing in martial law and getting into all of that. So what are you guys' thoughts on that, and with what's going down as we speak?
Well, yeah, of course it is, because I think you got to look at how, eventually that's what they want to do. They want to get the guns, and how would they do that? You think everybody's just going to voluntarily turn them in? No. So they're going to have to go door to door and get them. And that's what they've done with the military. That's why they want to militarize all this stuff.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm in total agreement with that. So just wanted to bring that up. But there is a kind of off the wall point I want to bring about the mental illness. And Matt, you can take this one if you want. These pharmaceutical companies making billions of dollars off of these drugs that, with these kids with ADHD or whatever they call that, does it tie into what we're seeing with these younger kids creating these?
I believe so. I mean, it plays a part in it, and it's just not for kids who are on all this medication. It's also adults too,
right?
For people who are bipolar or paranoid schizophrenic, whatever. I'm sure that does play a big part in it.
I mean, this is a huge, $1 billion industry.
Oh, it's more than $1 billion industry.
They're pumping these drugs into kids. I mean, they're pumping and pumping and pumping these drugs into, kids, adults, young adults. So they don't pump any of that shit into me, by the way, just so you know.
Same here. No, but
go ahead.
No, well, you're right. I believe the medications have a lot to do with it, because it alters their mind.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, and what is ADH? I can't remember. But
ADHD,
yes,
ADD, attention deficit disorder.
that's more of a speed drug, right? Like speeds them up, or does it slow them down? I'm not sure. I've never had any kind of
Well,
thing
it's
like that in
supposed
my
to
life.
focus on people who have difficulty paying attention in school and whatnot. It's supposed to make them focus better. Well, I don't think it does anything, to be honest with you.
Well, I've heard on the streets back when I was younger that people take that for different reasons. So I guess that's the reason.
Well, yeah, if you're going to abuse it for other reasons, yes. Ritalin.
I don't know. All these things that they, again, pump into these kids and pump into people, that it just concerns me, and it makes me wonder if it's controlling people. And
well, that's what they want to do. They want to control people.
I'm, again, 100% behind that. And these red flag laws have seemed to take over the chat here, so, which I figured it would.
It's all about control.
To me, and I think that's why Paladin wanted to come on, it is control. And like he said, the numbers are astronomical of these events happening the way they're happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if that doesn't tell everybody something, then it should. And I get exactly what he is saying.
And one other thing, while we're just talking about that briefly, is is anybody sick of the lone gunman thing? I mean, it's like, guys, you've been using that for 60 years. Can you come up with a different scenario? But they just that's the playbook. Yeah. Anybody ever ask themselves why that is?
I never asked that question, but yeah, I agree.
Okay, KO says I was thinking about Adderall for ADD, so that sums that up, what I was trying to say. But yes, not familiar with drugs. I don't even take Advil for damn headaches. Okay, so I just have the headache and it goes away eventually. I'm not for too much of putting things like that in my system. So, but yes, the long gunman thing. I mean, it's every time, and I guess unless you ask people like like us, that maybe think something different, but I don't know, man. All this stuff to me is just insane, and the way they're doing it, and to me, it's being put off on Trump, and Trump has to say something. And I think that's the point, that when me and Kale decided to go live, Trump had to say something. He had to do something, and I don't think it's as bad as everybody thinks it is. Go ahead, Paladin.
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think Trump had to say something. I mean, he's the president. He's got to say something. He did something today. He went to Dayton. He went to El Paso. He went through, and talked to the people, talked to the injured, talked to law enforcement, made his speeches. He did what he was supposed to do. It's what a president is supposed to do. But I think at some point, I hope he's doing other things behind the scenes to, to put a stop to this stuff. And one thing I want to bring out too is, I don't know how many people were alive when Robert Kennedy got killed, and how many people know the Sirhan story. If you don't, you should study up on it, because Sirhan does not remember anything about the Kennedy assassination. And I think it's pretty apparent that he was the first. There's a lot of names for him: Manchurian Candidate, or Sleeper, or, he was under mind control or whatever. But I think it's pretty apparent, if what he has said about what he remembers about that night is true. And I think, those of us who have studied that will know the girl in the polka dot dress was probably his handler that nobody has ever been able to identify. That it started back then. I mean, if you think that our government has not conducted all kinds of experiments, mental experiments, emotional experiments on their citizens, you got another thing coming. I mean, you need to get smart to all this stuff fast before it overtakes us as a society.
Well, that brings me to conspiracy theorist quote unquote, that now the FBI is stepping up saying that they're domestic terrorists. I mean, that's another, to me, that's another form of control. Like, you shut up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, there's no question about that. And that was what the Patriot Act was all about, you know. And I remember when that came out, and I probably am like Obamacare. I was one of the few people who read it all the way through, and I came upon the domestic terrorist part, and I'm thinking, what is this all about? And then you read it, and you see, oh, okay, because they knew down the road people would start talking about this stuff. People would start creating, you know, noise about it. And what better way to get them under control than have a law that is basically unconstitutional, and where somebody arbitrarily declares them a domestic terrorist, and then all these unconstitutional laws kick in to deal with them. Right?
Correct. I'm 100% with you on that. And
I mean, you guys, you know, as a society, we've got to wake up here pretty quick, because if we don't, we're going to be consumed. And it's for the future generations, you know. I mean, it's for our kids and our kids' kids and the great grandchildren and everybody that's going to follow us. We got to make a stand now, because if we don't, this, you know, America as we know it's going to be gone, and we're the last bastions of freedom in the world. Every country looks to us to set the example.
right.
And we've been a poor example up to this point.
And I agree, but you know, I don't know. I don't know what I was even going to say, man. I get so lost in my own mind about this stuff. It's
overwhelming, isn't it?
It is. It's very overwhelming.
And you know, getting back to this drug thing, I mean, let's face it, guys. That's so multi-purposeful. It's unbelievable. But the overriding purpose is to dumb us all down so we don't figure this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's what the GMO food's about. The fluoridated water. I mean, it's just on and on and on and on and on. And the media has a big part of that too, because they just keep feeding us bullshit. And now,
right,
based on the Smith-Mundt Act, the government can basically propagandize through the media, and they don't, you know, and it's one thing to do it, and it's one thing to do it and not tell us they're doing it. So when you watch the mainstream news, you don't know what's government sponsored and what isn't. I mean, and what type of you know, what type of a democracy does that? You know, that sounds like communism to me.
Exactly.
And so we got to do something about it. And see, Trump is their thorn in the side. Trump is the eye in the cinder of their progress. He is the elephant in the room. Okay, so this is all right now. I mean, it's obviously it's a long-term plan. The gun grab thing has always been a long-term plan. I mean, that's always going to be in play. But right now, this is specific to Trump, because we're going to paint these people as Trump supporters or thinking the way Trump does. And they're going to point to them and say, you see what happens when you think the way Trump does, and you're a racist, and you're a white nationalist, and you're this and you're that, and you're against the border, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's what they're using this for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what this is all about. So I guess we've all got to make a determination, you know, how we're going to address this. And if we're just going to sit and do nothing, then we deserve what we get and get what we deserve. You know, I woke up when I was 7 years old. I guess I mean, I don't know if that was luck or a curse, but I've been able to
7
see.
years old, you woke up?
Well, it's November
Wow.
22nd, 1963. I knew that was
Wow,
I knew that was bullshit from day one. You know, and then I watched 10 years later when they have these, you know, church committee hearings, and all the information comes out about Oswald being a CIA guy, or reporting, you know, doing this stuff in Russia for the government, you know, tried to go in as a defector, and the Russians didn't buy it and sent him home. And he was informant for the FBI at the time that the assassination occurred. And you know, there was a lot of people that knew this at the time of the assassination, but nobody said a damn word about it. But it took these hearings 13 years later for all this stuff to come out, in addition to, you know, all the plots that they have to overthrow all these governments and kill all these foreign leaders. Castro being the main one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so then you sit there and you see as this information comes out over time, and you look back on it and you say, wow, all these people knew about that in 1963, but they never said a word about it. They let all this stuff go. And why is that? You know, why is that? Well, because there's a shadow government out there. There is a deep state, you know, and it rankles me to watch somebody like Hannity talk about it when, you know, it's like a nameless, faceless entity. No, it's not nameless, and no, it's not faceless. Okay, so let's start identifying them and let's start getting to it.
I heard you say that the other day on the other show you were on, and I kind of smiled a little bit. Yeah, Hannity, won't you say their names? You have zero issues with putting out statistics every single night, the same statistics. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's the deep state. It's the deep state again. The deep state's doing this to Trump, and he refers to them as if they're some unknown entity that, you know, they're so powerful that we don't know who they are. You know, it's an idea, I guess. I don't know. You know, the deep state. Well, let's start identifying the deep state. Let's start taking them down. You know, let's start getting them out of the way.
I'm in agreement with that, but okay, I know a little bit about the 48 that you're going to put out. I know the 5 people that you named in your video.
Yeah.
But what do you think that is today? Like, I was curious about that. Like,
well, I think
anymore.
I think you can, you know, it's the Soroses, it's the Kissingers, it's the bankers. It's people like that. You know, I could sit down and think about it and give you a list, but I mean, you're not looking necessarily at politicians. Politicians are just paid off, blackmailed and compromised agents, for the deep state. The deep state is here, you know, they're here for the long term. You know, it's like presidents come in for 4 years or 8 years and they go, but the deep state is firmly entrenched in our government, and it's firmly entrenched, you know, all over the world. I mean, they're trying to, you know, and I have this analogy, you know, back in the Roman Empire, you knew you could tell you were free or a slave, because if you were free, you didn't have a collar around your neck with your owner's name in case you ran off and got lost or tried to escape and somebody found you. They knew who to take you back to. And then it was apparent, but now it's not apparent. And you know, that collar around our neck is our social security numbers. That's the collar, but it's an invisible one to most people. Okay, and it's still the same thing. I mean, we're still slaves. I mean, let's face it, we're still slaves. And that's, you know, that's the bottom line. So you have a class of people who know that, and that would be our politicians. They know that we're slaves, but see, when they're a politician, then they're doing the bidding of the deep state, of the rulers of the planet. And when they do that, they get to be, in their mind, part of like the deep state. So are part of, you know, the chosen ones. But they don't realize that as soon as they get out of line, as soon as they say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, they get torched, you know, they get flushed, they're expendable. Okay. But the money and the power that they get from doing this makes them drunk. And so they don't do the right things. I mean, you can see this with the Democrats. You can see this with some of the Republicans. You can see this. I mean, Trump is like a wrecking ball to this whole thing. He's bringing it out. Everybody is revealing themselves in this whole situation.
I agree with that.
So the current guys, to get back to your question, I mean, the current people are, you know, look at who attends the Bilderberg meetings. Look at who is in the Committee of 300. Look at who's in the Council for Foreign Relations. Those are the movers and the shakers, and they're all doing it for the bloodline families who stay completely off the radar. I mean, I go crazy every year when Fortune comes out with their Fortune 500, you know, the richest people in the world. And it's like, where are the Rothschilds and where are the Rockefellers and where are the Morgans and where are the Warburgs, you know, and where are the Lees? Okay.
Yeah.
Because these people have so many zeros behind their bank account that you know, there's million, billion, trillion, and then quadrillion. Well, what's after that? Quintillion. And what's after that? Well, that's what some of these families have, because they've been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. There's families in China that were around during when the Silk Road was in play. I mean, they're richer than you can imagine. So, this is all just a facade. It's just all a facade. And that's what we got to figure out. I mean, that's what we have to understand. And if we don't, then we're doomed. We're doomed, because at some point they will reveal that we are their slaves. And that's when we won't have any guns and we won't have any rights. And there's nothing we can do to fight back. That's when they'll let us know. But see, now it's a secret. It's a big secret, because they knew if we found out, we'd do something about it.
Right.
But what do we do about it? I mean, what do we do as Americans as of right now, in your opinion, if you want to answer that question? What do we do about it? I mean, what do we do about the shit that's happening right here in front of our eyes? And, besides get on YouTube and have a voice, hell, and good as good as I do, that YouTube is, hell, they're shutting us down every day, and they can't wait to get us all out of here. So,
well, we've got to, when we were doing our reports in the White Hats, that's the question that we always got. What can we do? What can we do? Well, you have to stand up and determine what your talents are, what your skill set is, and what part you can play. Everybody's got a part in this. You just have to figure out on your own how you can be best effective. As a group thing. I mean, we've got to start at our local level, and we've got to start with the politicians, and we've got to make it known, and we've got to support Trump right now, because he's our only shot. I'm telling you guys, whether you love him or you hate him, it doesn't really matter, because he is here because he knows he's not one of them, but he's done business with all of them, and he knows a lot of stuff. We've gotten a lot of stuff to him. He knew about if you guys followed the White Hats, he knew about Falcone a long time. He knew Falcone got ripped off a long time ago by those guys. He knew Bush paid off Biden and paid off Clinton and paid off Obama not to do anything about them stealing Falcone's money. I mean, him and Falcone are real estate guys. They're both from Florida and New York. So he knows Falcone. He knows all about it. He knows what happened at 9/11. You better believe he does. He knows all this stuff. He needs a second term. Okay, he needs a second term, because this deep state is so deep, it's so vast, that it's going to take that long to get it done. And I don't know whether he's going to be able to get it done in 8 years, but he's going to make a big dent in it. And we've got to make sure that there's somebody out there in 2024 that's ready to take his place and keep going with it. And so, everybody has to kind of determine what their strengths are and what their skill set is and how they can be the most effective. But, you've just got to, you got to look inward, because we all have to take responsibility. And that's something, that we haven't done. And I think the generation, my parents' generation, they were around when Kennedy got assassinated. And I think they all knew that what was going on, what was coming. And they didn't do anything about it. And here we are 50, 60 years later, and look at the state we're in. And, Kennedy's told us all about this. Kennedy talked about the secret societies. If you watch the 48 series when it comes out, you're going to see all the things we're going to bring out about how Kennedy warned us about what was going on. And that's why they whacked him for it. And let's not forget, they whacked him in broad daylight in front of, 100 or 200 witnesses. Okay. Because they don't care. That's how bad it is. They don't care. And I don't even want to go down the pedophilia road and the satanic stuff. I don't even want to go there, but it's worse than you can ever imagine. Trust me.
There's a whole nother road.
Yeah. It's things you would not, it's so dark, or they do things that you can't even conceive of. Okay. I mean, I don't even want to talk about it. So
Yeah.
these people are, because if you take the, what I guess you would, and I don't want to use the word fanatic, but the religious, maybe zealots, I don't know, however you want to term it, that are so into their religion, if you want to look at it that way, and are really, faith based, and that, their whole life revolves around that. Okay, take the complete opposite of that, and use that religion as a, use the religion as good. That represents good, that represents the light, however way you want to hold it. Okay, and now you go to the completely opposite end of the spectrum, the complete darkness. Okay, the satanic stuff. Okay, whatever that the devil represents in your mind, or whatever the worst thing in the world represents in your mind, that's what these people are. So there isn't anything they won't do.
If you give me a second, I'm going to promise the tweet that I had found. So I'd like to get you guys' opinion on it also, but I wanted KL's opinion on it, but I couldn't find it. So just give me 1 second. I'm actually going to put it here on the screen.
Okay.
And this tweet is from Greg Gutfield from Fox News. I'm just going to bring that up a little bit there. And I'll let you guys all read it. And I'd like to know your opinion on it. I mean, it's very true. And it has everything to do with what we're seeing these days.
Yep.
Now, I know, if I'm not mistaken, Greg Gutfield's like an in-between kind of guy, right? He's funny as hell to me, but
yeah.
He's not full right? I mean, even though he works at Fox News, he's not right. I think he's like the Green Party or some shit. I don't know what he is exactly, but it's not like a full-out conservative.
No, I guess if I was going to label him, I would maybe say he's a libertarian.
Now, I think that's what he labels himself as, actually.
Or an independent, or an independent, I guess, something like that. Lean centrist, yeah, maybe that's it.
What do you think about that, Matt?
I would have to agree with Paladin on that one. I believe he's somewhere in the middle.
I mean, what do you think about the tweet that he's saying? I mean, to me, that's one of the truest statements I've read this week.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I don't know. I'm really not a Trump supporter, to be honest with you. But, if this is all true, then so be it.
Well, he is about to execute a white supremacist. He did free a black rapper from jail in a different country. He does push for prison reform. I mean, it is all true. To me, it's all true. From what I'm being told and what I'm reading, all this is true, and it's correct. If people think he's a racist, then he freaking sucks at it, man. I agree with that 100%. But I just wanted to get you guys' opinion on that. I'll shut that back down. So give me a second here.
There's a lot of things that Trump's done behind the scenes before he got to be president. I mean, he's, 70 some years old. So he's had a pretty full life, and he's been a pretty successful businessman, and he's been a pretty smart businessman. And he's done a lot of charitable things behind the scenes that nobody knows about. And it's been for all people of all different backgrounds and creeds and races. And, so I mean, I think, yes, he's got an ego. So what? I mean, we've got a good economy. People are back to work. I mean, it's been, I don't know, what's the unemployment is the best it's been in 50 years since 1969 or whatever. So, I mean, he is doing things for the people as opposed to doing them for, big business and the bankers and everything else. And man, he is all over the Federal Reserve. And when we get finished with 48, you're going to see how corrupt they are.
Well, I promise you, if you watch any Hannity show, he'll tell you the statistics of the economy. He says it on every show, I believe. So,
well, and they come out, I mean, every so often, if you watch any of the financial stuff, which I do, there's always the labor numbers that come out. There's always the GDP comes out every 3 months. And, I mean, there's all these economic numbers that get put out on a periodic basis, and it's basically for the financial markets, but it's some sort of a gauge on how the economy's doing. And by all rights, and based on all the reporting, we're doing great. I mean, in some areas we're doing better than we ever have. In some areas we're doing better than we have in 50 years. And that's for the people. The people are getting the benefit of that, not the rich people, not it's not specific to one class. It's really for everybody. So, I think that's what we need. I mean, we've seen that politicians can't run anything, but we have a businessman that's gone in there. And I've always thought that a businessman would make a better president as a profile than a politician, because a politician is nothing but an attorney that's turned to be a politician. They don't know jack shit about business.
Matt, do you want to answer this question I have up on the screen? You don't have to if you don't want to. Just if you want to, go ahead. If you don't, then just let me know.
Well, I guess if it's been asked, then I guess I will.
All right, you shoot, and if you give me a minute, Paladin, and you talk to him, I'm going to run to the restroom. I do want to hear this too, so maybe not. Go ahead.
All right. The reason I don't like Trump is I don't like the way he acts towards people. He's not a very nice person to individuals. Certain individuals, makes fun of a lot of people. And personally, I just don't like that. I mean, I know it may sound like a stupid reason, but I don't believe a president should be doing stuff like that. Now, granted, yeah, he has done some good in some ways, but I just don't like his whole. I don't like him as a person. I don't know if that answers her question, but.
Well, I would say this, because I am a Trump supporter, and I'm not going to. You mean nothing different to me than what you mean when you came on the show. We're still friends, and everything's all good. That's your opinion, and I'm good with that. But I would probably say that. Do you want a Mr. Nice Guy in office that just?
It's not about Mr. Nice Guy. It's about having respect towards people.
But when you say respect towards people, I don't want to continue to go in on this, so I'm going to ask one more question, then we'll just move on. When you say respect towards people, and I don't know if you're pushing the racist card, or if you're pushing, I don't know what you're pushing, but when you say that, I have to think, maybe he don't like the way he says this about this group of people or this group of people, but. I guess my question to you, and you don't have to answer it if you don't. I don't want to put you on the spot. So if you just say no comment, I'm good with that. Do you think he's racist? Is that what this is about? Because that tweet was about that. So just tearing them in. Again, you can say no comment, and we move on.
I can't answer that.
No, 10-4. I got it loud and clear. And I got 3 messages here. All right. Anybody want to take this show for a second so I can go to the restroom? Talk about anything you want to. I'm sure you got your radio station voices over here got something to say.
Well, Pell, then I guess it's just you and me now, huh?
Nope, it's just you.
I guess it's just me.
Sorry, no, I'm
Oh,
here.
there you
I'm sorry. I muted myself and then I couldn't find the window to unmute. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I guess it's just you and I now.
Yeah. I was looking for a letter that was circulating about something, and I can't find the email. That was something about, you know, how every so often you'll get those emails that get passed around from someone who obviously has a personal experience with someone famous, and they want to relate it to you. And this one was about Trump and bringing in planes to do something, and I don't remember. I guess he owned Tower Air, and he did. I don't know if this was they were getting troops out somewhere and they ran out of planes or something, and Trump sent his planes in for nothing to evacuate people or troops or something. But I can't find it. So anyway, you know, I don't really care. I know what you said, Matt. I heard what you said, and I don't care what kind of person they are. I just care what they do. Like, you know, if Mickey Mouse was president and Mickey Mouse was doing, you know, upholding the Constitution and doing the right things and wasn't owned by the you know, the deep state or whatever, I'd vote for him. You know, I mean, I don't really care about. It's not to me. It's not a popularity contest. I'm not voting for him because I think he's the smoothest or I think he's this or that. I think he would make the best president as far as the qualities for a president. And him, you know, the things that he says, I mean, you know, again, as a profile, if you believe or if you understand what's going on, then you know that we need a fighter there, you know, because
No,
somebody
I
that,
understand where you're coming from.
you know,
I get that.
somebody's gonna blow smoke up everybody's ass, but they're not going to, you know, they're not going to get anything done. Then they're useless. I mean, I have this ongoing sort of friendly battle between a friend of mine in London, right? And he's always, you know, he's always on Trump all the time because then all he has to, you know, all he can criticize Trump about is that, you know, he's this and he's that, you know, what he says, and he doesn't represent you know your country very well, blah 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 blah. And I keep saying we don't give a shit as long as he gets things done over here, because pomp and circumstance don't go, you know, don't get anything accomplished, and looking pretty and saying the right things and blowing smoke up our ass doesn't do any good for anybody, you know, over here.
No, I
And
agree.
and
I totally
you
agree
know,
with that.
and he says stuff like that about Trump, and I say, well, you know, at least I said, you know, when we get done with Trump, we'll send him over there and see if he can help you guys get out of the European Union, because you'll still be trying to get out in 2024 when he gets out of office.
Right.
Anyway, it's kind of a running battle, but he's all about the pomp and the circumstance. You know, he's an uptight British guy. You know what I mean? I mean, this is the way. So it's like, to him, that's important. Okay, how you represent your country on the, you know, international stage. And you know, and I've said I don't care about that. I said, and I think there's a lot of people in this country that don't give a shit about that. As long as he, you know, fixes things and gets things accomplished, I think that's all we care about. That's all I care about. Like I say, you know, hell, I'd vote for Mickey Mouse if I thought he was going to do a good job. It doesn't matter to me, you know, about that stuff. And honestly, on a personal level, I've never liked Trump, but I love him as a president. But I've never liked him personally. I mean, you know, he's just been an arrogant, pompous ass. In my
Well, that's what I mean.
You know what I mean?
Right. No, I understand that. But to me, you know, everybody has their own views on things, and, you know, their views on Trump. Either you like him or you hate him, or you know, are in between.
Is there in between, Matt? I don't see a lot of people in between. It's either A or B, and that's my opinion. But
well, whatever. I mean, you know,
Well, and I think the thing with Trump is that Trump is a fighter, and that's what we need. I mean, if you believe that we're going down the wrong path, and we have been going down the wrong path for 100 years, and we're getting away from the Constitution, we're getting away from the foundation of this country that was laid for us 250 years ago, then you see why we need somebody like Trump in there. If you don't see that or you don't understand that, then I can understand why people view him in this with the same glasses that they view all the other politicians. But he's not a politician. And tell me this: when have politicians done what they said they were going to do once they got in office? Once did they keep their promises they made on the campaign trail once they got in office?
No.
So why then would we continue to put, lawyers turned politicians into government? I mean, that's, to me, it's just, it's insane. It's the definition of insanity.
Right. No, and I agree. But to me, I look at how the person carries himself. Maybe that's the wrong way to look at it. I don't know, but
well, I guess it depends on what your idea or your perception is of the president and what they're supposed to do. Like if you feel like they're supposed to, be the PR face of the country, then I can understand what you're saying. If you if you have other sort of a different checklist that you go through for your president,
no,
then
I'm not
you know what
talking
I'm
about
saying?
that. What I mean is that just like what you said, as far as the PR thing goes, I mean, as long as he carries himself in a proper manner, that's fine. But
Okay.
I mean, if he's going to be an ass about things, which he has been, I mean, to me, that's a turnoff.
Well, I know, but that's an opinion too. But what I'm saying is, would you rather have a spineless jellyfish as a president who just goes along with whatever the deep state wants him to do, and he's
No.
basically a puppet, or would you rather have a pompous ass in there who pisses some people off, but he gets things done and gets us out of the clutches of the deep state?
I'd rather have that. Or I'd rather have somebody who's a
Well,
pompous ass.
then get on the goddamn bandwagon, brother.
Well,
no, I get it. Listen, I hated Trump for the longest time because he tried to compete with the NFL, and he screwed it all up because they could have had he owned the New Jersey Generals or whatever. They could have tried to compete with the NFL, and he was the one that pushed him to try to do it at the same, during this NFL football season. So I've always hated him since then. But I do think, I mean, what KL said, he is really a patriot, and I think he wants to go down. He's got a big ego, and that's good in this case because I think that he wants to go down in history as being remembered as the president who restored the republic. I really feel that way, and that's where his ego comes into play. And that's also where his street fighting background, growing up in New York and doing real estate in New York. I mean, man, I can't think of a tougher market to do business in than New York. He's the perfect, he profiles as the perfect person to take our country back, I guess is what I'm saying. And I don't care about that. It's not like, to me, it's not a popularity contest. I mean, I think we did that with Obama. I mean, I really think after 8 years of Bush, which were just a total disaster, Obama, hope and change. And what did we get? We got
nothing.
We probably got the worst president in the history of this country, to be honest with you. I mean, that guy was so incompetent, and all he could do is talk. That's all he can do is blow smoke up people's ass. That's all he can do. And he didn't get anything done. I mean, he really didn't. He took this country backwards. He didn't bring the country together like he was supposed to, like he said he was going to do. I mean, I don't think he did anything he said he was going to do. And so I'm just trying to, draw that contrast between him, because I mean, I had hope for a while about him, and he just came in and just blew it. He
Well,
just
he didn't
completely
even
blew it.
he didn't
You
even
know?
help the black community.
Yeah, right. I mean, you
But that-
if you yeah, you're right. I mean, wasn't going to say that, but if you talk to the black community, they're disappointed too in him,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
well, that-
and that's too bad because there was a great opportunity there.
yeah, there was.
So anyway, but I think they do make it a popularity contest. I mean, I think they really do, and so that catches a lot of people up in that sort of thing. And I don't really care what the rest of the country or what the rest of the world thinks about us. I just want them to respect us again. And Trump going out with not doing these deals, these NAFTA and TPP and renegotiating these trade contracts. I mean, that was all by design. And I wish he would stop saying they made a dumb deal. They didn't make a dumb deal. They made the deal that they wanted to make to destroy this country. That's what they did.
Right.
And I
No,
mean,
I
you know
agree
what I'm
with that
saying?
100%.
Yeah, I mean, they did it knowing exactly what the hell they were doing. And
Amen.
so Trump now is trying to regain that ground. He is trying to get that back because I mean, I'm a numbers guy, so it just never made sense that you would be able to send your manufacturing out of the country and then you would have to make it outside the country where they probably don't have access to all the raw materials like they do in the United States anyway. And so you can farm that out to a different country. Then you got to ship that stuff across the ocean and get it here, and you can still sell it to us for the same price that it costs to make it in this country. There's something wrong with that. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, there's just something wrong with that. And who benefits from that? Well, the corporations do, but the people don't.
Exactly.
Okay, so the corporate buddies, the corporate guys, because GM, they can move some manufacturing facilities down to Mexico. It's no
Mhm.
big deal. And okay, so now you got to ship that stuff 2,000 miles to get it back. Well, yeah, you can do it, and the costs are still the costs are still what they were before. Now, how does that make any sense? And then you ship stuff across overseas. I mean, how many of us have seen the big cargo containers, the big ships filled with the big cargo containers like that are, as big as train cars, from China supplying Walmart. I mean,
Mhm.
raise your hand if you've seen those pictures, right? And that's China. And how can they do that? I mean, who made that decision that we're going to start buying from China and they can do it cheaper? Because we're basically, I mean, when you break that down, the only thing that's really cheaper is the labor. The labor has got to be cheaper. The raw materials are going to be the same. It's going to cost the same to ship that stuff overseas, whether it's oil or whether it's products or whatever.
Exactly.
It's based on weight. So where are they getting? Where is the difference? Where are they able to make up that difference? Well, it's in the labor. So it's slave labor, basically.
Right.
Okay, so why do we support that? Why are we supporting that? I don't know. I'm just
I don't
asking
know
the,
either. I don't support it.
I'm just asking the question because we've sat here and we've allowed it to happen. And so Trump is trying to get all this stuff back. I mean, I wonder sometimes whether he even wants to make a deal with China because I think if he doesn't make a deal with China, that's going to open up a whole new market in the United States for us to get the business that China has, for us to get that back.
Exactly.
And I wonder if he doesn't really want to get a deal done with China. But I think if he does want to get a deal done, it's going to be a good deal. I don't think he'll do a deal unless it's a good one for us. And see, that's the first time in the history of my life that we've had a president like that, with the exception of Kennedy. That's the first time that we've had a president who really cares about this country. And we're a consumer nation. So we can go anywhere in the world and basically almost name our own price and get it. You know what I mean? Because we're the consumers. Everybody wants to get in the US market. And our former presidents allowed all this stuff, all this industry to be taken out of our country.
Mhm.
And that's by design. I mean, because, I don't know if you've gone to any third world country, but there's only two classes of people. There's the upper class and then there's the poor people. There's no middle class.
Right.
And the middle class is the only class that keeps the upper class in check. in a society. If there's no middle class, then there is no check and balance on the upper class, because the lower class has no ability to even affect that. So anyway, and I, I don't know if we convince you on Trump or not. I mean, he's not somebody that, although the people that I've talked to that have met him say he's just a great guy. He's a good guy to be around, and all this kind of stuff. But I don't know. Anyway, I just think, I just look at the qualities for a president and protecting this country and protecting its citizens, and I think he's the only one that's actually trying to do that. And he's got a monumental task, that's for sure. And I'll stop now. I'll stop talking.
Well,
you guys can talk.
Hold on, Paladin, before you go. With that task, can he even get anywhere close to completing that task within 8 years?
Yeah, I think he can, because if he guts the Federal Reserve and he arrests the criminals, the crime families that have been doing business in the U.S. and the people that have committed treason, yeah, I think he can. But it's going to be a tall order. But he's got to get rid of the Federal Reserve. He's got to get rid of those guys. That's got to be number one. And he's been, he's been hinting about it. He's been talking about it. He's been one of the few presidents that I can ever remember who has really been all over the Federal Reserve and talked about them. And he's right about what he says about them is 100% accurate. They're responsible for all the recessions and all the depressions and all the ups and downs of the economy. We're going to show you in 48. You're going to see what we're talking about. We've got documents that are you're just going to blow you away.
So is 48 going to be a video, or is it going to be?
It's going to be a video series.
Video series, okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that to come out.
Is this a shareable video?
Yeah, sure. Of course. Yeah, once you see what's in it, we got to get it out as far and wide as you can.
Because as long as I have a channel and you give me permission, I'll put it on mine. So
yeah. It can be shared, no problem. It's got to get out. We've got to get out, and we're getting it to Trump, and we're hoping that he's going to be able to use it to declare the Fed a criminal enterprise and fraudulent, and he can get rid of him.
That is awesome. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Because the Federal Reserve, I don't know if, a lot of people don't like to think about numbers and all that kind of stuff. I think it goes back to arithmetic in grade school, but they make it purposefully sophisticated and complicated so that you do throw your hands up and say, I give up. But, it's a debt-based system as opposed to an asset-based system. And you know what a debt is? A debt is something you owe. And so the money is on the liability side of the balance sheet, which means that it's not based on anything. There is nothing backing our dollar. So they can print as many as they want. They can use they can just go crazy with that. There's no accountability. And the Fed doesn't have any accountability to anybody, including our government. They don't. They just, we're going to show in one of the videos, we're going to show Alan Greenspan basically saying that we don't report to anybody. And so what you have, everybody, is you have a group of banks making monetary decisions that affect those banks. So what a great deal, right? They make their own rules. That's what it means. They make their own rules. And so you don't think that the rules that they make benefit them first?
Right.
That's what it is. That's what, that's what the Federal Reserve is.
It's what's in it for them.
Yeah. Let's say you put together some sort of an enterprise, let's say that the doctors got to determine all the laws regarding doctors, or the pharmaceutical companies got to get together and determine all the laws and everything about how pharmaceutical companies work and how they charge you and everything else. It's more than just a monopoly. It's complete control.
Well, the pharmaceutical companies own the FDA.
Yeah, but
they
I
are
mean,
the FDA.
yeah, but the thing of it is, you've got the Federal Reserve who is out and out. I mean, at least the FDA is a reporting. Uh, it's a reporting, division of the government that goes through
Right.
certain processes. The Federal Reserve doesn't have anybody above them. They're
Exactly.
not part of anything. And what could you argue is the most important part of our daily life? Our money. And they control it, man. They
Yep.
control it. They control it. So anyway, we're going to be showing you a lot of things about that are just going to blow your mind. I mean, we're going to first off talk about the $15 trillion that they created out of thin air and sent over to Europe. And this was in 2009 after Obama first took office. And if you recall, in 2008, at the end of Bush's term, when they had the TARP bailout, and our debt was 10 trillion at that point, and they created out of thin air 15 trillion and sent it over to Europe. They could have paid the debt off, but no. So anyway, I mean, it was based on gold that doesn't exist. It's just completely fraudulent. So we're going to show you that and a whole bunch of other things in the succeeding.
No,
We're going
that's
to talk
gonna be
about.
very interesting when it comes out. I can't wait
Yeah,
to hear it.
we're gonna talk about the shadow government, when it was started, why it was started, who was part of it. I mean, we already gave a little bit of a idea in that 4th of July video, but we're going to talk about that. And we're going to show you documents that you're just not going to believe.
Any comments on the comment I have on the screen here? Because Bitcoin's a big thing, but from my understanding and reading about it, it's more of a, I mean, that's all you can use on the deep web, apparently, from what I've studied this week. Now, granted, don't hold me to that, but this cryptocurrency and the way things are going with that, does anything have anything to do with that? Just asking. I'm not sure. So,
Cryptocurrency is just another. It's just another currency that has no. It has no support. It's not based on anything. So it's just it's just like our dollar, really. Only it's problematic. Although I think it serves the deep state well, because they can go behind they can go to the dark web and do all their stuff and pay for things with it. And the thing about Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of the other cryptocurrencies is there's really no record of what the transaction was about. There's the blockchain that tracks the exchange of coins or of Bitcoins, of the currency, as far as who owns that currency and that sort of thing. But there's nothing that determines why there was an exchange of coins. Did you buy drugs? Did you hire a hitman? Did you whatever? You know what I mean? So, and I wouldn't be surprised if Greenspan was involved, although the way it all evolved, I don't know. I kind of think that they watched it and it got to a certain point where they thought, you know what, we ought to jump in this game, and because we can make money too. But it's just like the US dollar or any of the other fiat currencies. It has no backing. I mean, you can't exchange it for anything of value, just like, the dollar. I mean, you can buy things with it, but if you say, well, I want something else of value like gold or something like that, there's nothing there. So there's a new system that's coming. If we can get rid of the Federal Reserve and the IMF and some of the old European banking stuff, and it looks like it's going to the east, as far as China's putting together a whole new system over there, and the infrastructure is going to be in place pretty soon. Then we make it an asset-backed system where it is backed by gold, it's backed by silver, it's backed by something, oil in the ground, for example, raw minerals, GDP, whatever. It's going to be asset-backed, so it's going to be a lot stronger. And hopefully that will take out all the fluctuations of the currency markets, because that's just another casino that the bankers control.
But in your opinion, say 10 years from now, is paper money gone? Is coins gone? Are we all on now a banking
Yeah,
system?
I mean, I think we're going to be I guess I hate to use this term cashless society. I think we're gonna get to that, and that's really not. It's not. That's not really a problem as long as it's administered properly. Um, you know, and they don't control it. You know, that's part of Obamacare. They wanted everything to be tied to your chip, to your ID for your medical. You know, your insurance ID for Obamacare. It's in the law. It was a what was the term? Machine something machine machine something card or whatever. But basically, it was it was a chip, just like what we got in our credit cards now. And they would be able to control your access to your bank account, I guess is what I'm saying. If we go cashless and they don't have control of your access to your bank account, then that's fine. But if they ever get control of it, then we're toast, and that's what that's one of the things that Obamacare was going to accomplish, because they had that law based on the fact that, if you did not, if you don't, you didn't, they wanted to force you to buy the insurance. And if they didn't force you to buy the insurance, then the IRS was going to collect from you, right? You had to pay a fine. You had to pay, well, a tax, excuse me. It was called a tax. That's the only way that they could get it through constitutionally. So what would have happened is that rate of tax would have gone up and up and up, would have progressively gone up. And based on Obamacare, there was a provision in there about making vaccinations mandatory. And part of that provision had to do with the fact that once the HHS or some director of one of the health departments determined that we had a pandemic or an epidemic or whatever the hell it was, then vaccinations would become mandatory. So then if you refused to take the vaccinations, then you would lose your insurance and you would have to pay the tax. And that tax kept stair stepping up in time, to the point where, what does the IRS do when you owe them money? They come and take your house. They come and take all kinds of things. And that's what that was all about.
Well, let me see how I can put this. We get rid of paper money. Okay, we move to a system where, and we don't want to be socialist in this project, I promise you, and that's just my opinion, but we don't want to be socialist. So, okay, say my wife's grandfather, when he passed away, they found like 120 grand in cash he had stashed around that house,
Yep.
So, okay, say you have an older gentleman who has that kind of money laying around, and we've already moved to this system. So is that paper money still good?
Well, I mean, you're asking me how they would make the changeover, I think.
Well, your opinion on it, because I know you can't.
Yeah, and the thing of it is, what they would eventually do is they would, you'd have a 6-month period where, okay, you got to put all your cash in the bank, because at midnight on January 1st, we're going to go to a cashless society. So you won't be able to use the cash anymore. I mean, that's what they would do. But it's interesting you mentioned that story, because my grandmother kind of had the same story about my grandmother. They found a bunch of cash in one of her drawers when she died. And I bet that in your situation, just like mine, they lived through the Depression and they didn't trust the banks. And that's why they didn't put the damn money in the banks. At least that's the way it was with my grandfather. He sat me down one day and kind of laid it out for me a little bit.
Well, from my understanding, Paladin, they found money everywhere in this damn house. Like,
yeah. And the thing of it is, the question the logical question that comes up is, why didn't they put it in a bank? It's quote unquote safer there, right? I bet he didn't trust the banks. I bet he went through the Depression, and I bet he didn't trust the banks. I mean, that was my grandfather. He didn't even have a bank account. He didn't trust them. You know, he went through the gold confiscations of the 1930s when FDR confiscated everybody's gold, and he didn't trust the banks. So that could be part of it. You know, I mean, you know, there's the old saying, put it in a can and bury it in your backyard. But I guess I'm not sure what you're asking the question. They are training us, you know, they are training us to use our cards. They are training us for a cashless society. I mean, if any of you have kids, you know, are any of your do your kids have a checkbook, you know, or what? They just have
They don't even
a
know what
card.
it is.
Right, exactly. They don't know what cash is. I mean, they have a card, right? And they use their card. Or now I guess you can use your phone.
But I guess it scares me because that phone that we use every single day, and I know how you feel about these phones, Bellin, and that's up to you to tell anybody else. But you know, they went from swiping a card, now it's a chip.
Yeah.
How the hell do we know what that chip does?
Well, we don't know what it does, but I would like to know what's on it.
Right.
What information is there?
Is that? I mean, I don't know. I've questioned myself. You know, I never said it out loud, but I'll say it now. Is this something that someone can find me with? You know, I mean, I don't know.
It's possible. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's the problem. We don't know what's in there.
And Miss Discerning Light says the chip collects data. What data? The data that I bought gas yesterday? Well, I hope so.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you have to understand that enabled. I mean, just think of it from a functional standpoint. It has to know, you know, who you're paying or who you're getting paid from. And if there's anything else that's associated with that, if there's some sort of a receipt or some sort of, you know, paperwork that goes into the system that you know is generated when you have a transaction, you know that stuff's going to be there. Now the time and the date could be there. The you know, the geographic location, I suppose, could be there too. And then does it store it there? And if it stores that information every time you make a transaction and it stores it there, then does it have access by virtue of that transaction that you did with Matt yesterday and me today? By virtue of that transaction, does it have the ability then to go to Matt's chip or my chip to see what's there also? You know, and those are all questions that I don't know that anybody's answered yet.
Right. And at the same time, I go back to, and I said this on lives before, so it's nothing new, but, you know, I hear about these FEMA camps and this and that and chipping you in the future and like putting the actual chips inside your system or inside your body, should I say. And why? They don't need that. These phones tell them every damn thing they need to know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that it's and I just, as you were saying that, I just remembered what the terminology was in Obamacare. It was a machine readable ID, a machine readable insurance card. Okay, they didn't say a chip. So the chip, you know, when you think about getting chipped, you don't necessarily limit it to just chipping your body. If if it's a card that you carry in your pocket, aren't you still chipped?
I mean, pretty much.
I mean, yeah. And it's it's going to be, as you said, a location tracker, just like your phone is now. You know, I mean, that's what it could get to, and that's why it's not. I mean, I'm not for it. I mean, but you know how I feel about cell phones. I mean, if you're connected to the internet, well, I mean, no matter what you do, but especially if you connect to the internet through your phone, you're just voluntarily entering into the matrix is what you're doing. And that's all by design.
Well, I agree with that 100%. And those chips on those cars, what was wrong with the strip? You know, why did we have to move? How is it more secure? Why is no one telling me that, you know?
I think the strip was the security process that said the machine, you know, the card is good and the machine, you know, that you slide it through can read it and take it and get the information off of it. And I think that's all it was. I think the chip, though, is another. I think that's just the next generation up from that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I think the magnetic, because if if your card expired, you run it through, if you ran it through a machine, it wouldn't take it, right? So
Right.
something had to be programmed into that magnetic strip, a few things. But the chip, who knows, man? The chip I hated that. And they put that in your passports too. I remember I got my last passport, I got it right before they started doing that. So I didn't want the chip in there. And
So,
I don't get cars with GPS in them either.
and I do have a car with the GPS, and I'm
Yeah.
I got a phone with a GPS, and something tells me in my mind that if I turn the GPS location off on my phone, somebody can turn it the hell on.
That's probably true. But it was always, I am told this story way back when I had a device 20 years ago or so that would intercept cell phone calls. And you had to be within a cell tower. You had to be within the set. You had to be close to them to be able to catch the conversation, because you had to be using the same cell tower. And so, we should have known once we got cell phones, because if you make a call to a cell phone from a landline, that cell phone system has got to know where to route that call, right? And so your cell phone is constantly beeping out a signal. It's like a homing device, bouncing off the nearest cell tower, because that's how the cell system knows to route the call to that particular cell tower, so you have service. Okay. So the cell phones, when they were first made, that's how that was how it was done. That cell phone, when you have it on, it gives a constant beep signal out. That's why the damn battery runs down. If you don't get any calls, it'll still run down eventually, right?
Right.
Because it's constantly sending a signal to the nearest cell tower. That way, when your number gets called, the system knows where to route the call, and it routes it to that cell tower, and then you have service. Then you can answer it, and you've got service.
Well, it brings a question up for this new AI technology called Siri, Amazon, whatever her name is.
Oh my God!
Yes, I have I actually have two of these things in my house.
Shame on you.
My wife loves that thing. She plays games on it, but I'm sitting in there sometimes and I'm talking and never say Alexa, and she starts talking for no reason. I'm sitting here going, she is listening to us at all times. At all times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where is this data being stored, and why is it being stored? So it brings a whole nother thing to this AI thing that's going on that we see with Siri on our phones. We carry around our phones every day. Is Siri listening to us all the time? I'm live right now and I can go, "Hey Siri," and she's going to talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, we used to be able. There was a way that you used to be able to get through on fax machines and listen to conversations in the room that the fax machine was in. I know a guy that had a device that he could call your fax machine, and it would turn on a microphone, or it would turn on the microphone, and you could hear the conversation in the room, and it wouldn't ring. So you could go backwards into the fax machines. I don't know if you can still do that or not. Of course, that's illegal as fuck. But
it's the same thing.
I've never heard of that.
And where is this data? Like, if they're hearing everything, if it's like on command, all I got to do is say, "Hey Siri."
Mm-hmm. Well, and and I did it. Was it some of the stuff that that Assange Wiki put out? Those guys put out about having cameras in some of the TVs. They can see you through the TV.
Right. So it's just,
this is what we don't. This is what's been going on for a long time, though. See, and we really don't think about it. But if you wanted to start a company, a phone company, a cell phone company, think about all the access to data that you would have. Because you own the company, right? So you'd know everybody's cell phone. You'd have access to everything that they have access to. I mean, basically what they do, because it's your system, right? They're using your system.
Right.
So now let's say some government agency came to us and said, hey, we'll offer you $500,000 if you put that shit on a disc and download it to us every month. What would you do?
I don't know, man. This stuff is
And truth bomb. I mean, this is for the national security of your country, man. I mean, this is, you'll be a patriot if you do this. See what I mean?
Yes, I do. I was having an actual conversation with KL on the phone, and I don't remember the whole story, but she said something, and then somehow Alexa answered her, and it freaked the both of us out like no other, man. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yes, you can do a you can do the code from Mortal Kombat, and it will set off a nuclear bomb or some shit that Alexa says. Y'all can try it if you have that, but again, I just don't understand how these things that we have around our houses, and I even told KL that I wanted something for Christmas, right? I wanted the Nest thing where I could make the temperature in my house what I want it to be when I'm away and when I. And she goes, "You're crazy."
Yeah.
So,
Well,
why are you doing that?
Yeah, and sometimes when if you're on the phone and they're hitting you, you got to understand. Sometimes they have equipment malfunctions too.
Come home
Oh,
110 degrees.
yeah. I mean, sometimes there's those equipment malfunctions come up from time to time.
Well, yeah, and they get and again, I didn't pay for that Alexa thing that we have. Guess how I got it? I have it. I'm a salesman. I work in my truck.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have Sirius satellite radio,
Mm-hmm.
and of course it was free.
Yeah.
They give these things away free to people.
Yeah. See, that's always your first clue. Something's wrong.
I tried to tell my wife that, but she loves that thing. She plays some damn kind of music thing on. I don't know. But yeah, I was actually talking to KL one time, and I asked the question, and okay, it stopped listening. Then KL asked the question, but never said Alexa in it, and all of a sudden it answered the question. And I'm telling you guys, it freaked us the fuck out. It did.
Yeah. I mean, you got to remember that it's those kinds of things work two-way. It's a two-way system. You know what I mean? It's not it's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street where information just goes one direction. Information is exchanged. So, the thing that we never know about is how much information is going the other direction. Just like your TV, your cable TV. Let's say there is a camera in there. I mean, the signal is coming to you, but you don't know what signal the TV is sending back out to someplace else.
Right. But just to clarify here, that Alexa thing sitting in there, if I am not talking to it and it answers something that nobody said anything to,
yeah,
that means it's always listening. Am I correct?
Yes. As long as it's, as long as it's on, as long as it's plugged in or whatever, it's got power. Yes.
So your phones, everything around you these days that is voice activated apparently is listening, because they're not just turning on in an instant that you say their name.
Right.
They're always listening.
Yeah.
So it just concerns me where all this data is being held and what it's being held for, and I don't know. Maybe it's
Well, the NSA just built a new place there in Utah. Go check it out. You probably can relate to how much data they can put in there.
Well, being in the construction industry as I am, I have seen just in this location, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 Facebook data buildings built. These things are about 250,000 square feet, and there is 5 people who work in there. There are nothing but servers lined from wall to wall, and that's just in my general area that I service. So, do they have a place to store all this stuff? Of course they do. I don't even know how we got on this subject.
Well, it's it's a chip. I think we were talking about the cashless society, but you've got. I'm looking at the Utah Data Center. It's got 1 to 1.5 million square feet. So how much can they
Anybody know
store?
how big of a building that is? You can't stand at one side and look to the end of it. You can't.
Oh, it's a complex. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It looks like there's 9 or 10. It's like its own little city. Okay. An article by Forbes estimates the storage capacity at between 3 and 12 exabytes. I don't even know what an exabyte is.
Me either. I thought we was at gigabytes. So the new computer I have has 2 gigabytes. So I don't even.
Yeah, it says the electricity itself is $40 million a year just to run it. And they've got a chiller plant and 2 power buildings and 6 cooling towers. 1, 2, 3, 4 power buildings, fuel tanks, water storage. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable to support the whole thing. Power substations. Yeah, just Google the Utah Data Center. You'll see the information about it.
That's crazy, man.
And that's just one. They've got, I think, 4 or 5 maybe.
Here's a question for you, and I'll let you answer it, Valid, if you want to. Isn't that database a big risk for terrorism?
I'd need a little bit clarification to. I mean, oh gosh, that's.
Well, all these servers and this, that, and the other. I mean, we see every day. I mean, we had the Equifax break. I think Capital One just had a break, didn't they not?
Yeah.
I think I read that. I mean, all these servers are breakable, and they get everybody's information. And so if just say a low level or a mid level or, even a high level can get into these things, what do you think the government can do?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's, supposedly they are storing. I mean, I think they take everything. I think they take everything we have and they store it there. And then if they ever need to recall it, they go in and pull it out and they'll have everything, every text you've ever sent and every email you've ever sent and access to your bank information and everything. I mean, I think it's there. Now, getting back to the terrorism, that's a whole nother story.
I mean, but
it depends. Well, it depends on who you define as a terrorist, how you define that.
I agree with that. Matt, you're quiet. We talking too much or what?
Yeah, come in, Matt.
It's getting late over here on the East Coast.
I'm here.
There he is.
No, I'm just listening to what you guys are talking about.
Well, feel free to put in some.
I have an Alexa myself.
Yeah.
I love my Alexa. Sorry. I love it to death.
I'm starting to think Matt Gilmore's from California. I'm done.
No.
That's a joke. I'm joking.
Hey, that's an insult, man.
I'm joking.
I'm a Midwestern boy.
There you go.
Always have, always will be.
Well, I won't move off the East Coast either myself, especially from the South. So, especially being raised here.
It's estimated that Utah data center uses 1.7 million gallons of water per day.
Wow.
For cooling.
but California is short on water.
Yeah.
How's that make sense to you?
Utah's eating it all up.
My TV that I'm actually, because I don't have an actual computer monitor, I have a 43-inch TV that I bought from Best Buy. That's my monitor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually Alexa based. So I can I have a remote. I can just press a button and Alexa talks to us. That you see where I'm going with this thing, man. They're always listening. I don't know what they're doing with the information, or I don't know. But so I feel like sometimes in the future, this shit's going to come back to bite us, you know?
Well, it could, and that's the problem. See, some people say, "Oh, well, I don't care if they listen to me. I'm not doing anything wrong, blah, 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 blah." Well, that may be the case, and maybe you'll be okay. And then maybe when you'll have a dissenting opinion about something someday, that's when you'll find out that it'll come back and bite you in the ass. Because once they have information like that, all that information, they can do whatever they want to with it. Splice it together, create conversations that never happened. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem with it. It's just not transparent. And that's what, if all this stuff that they're doing, the current administration is doing, the FISA stuff, if all that stuff ever comes out, you're going to find out how they control these politicians. You're going to find out how sophisticated it is and how they blackmail them. Because if they've got access to your information, they've got access to your private information, anything that could be used against you, they'll use it. And that's what people have to understand. We're not congressmen, we're not senators, we're not running some big corporation where they need our assistance. So we don't, we're not involved with that. But if you are, then, you're subject to that. You could be.
Right. Oh, man. What a lot to take in.
Well, and that's just reality, and we got to start facing it. We really do need to start facing it and forget about our social media stuff and all that other stuff and understand what's important.
Well, I did that the last week and a half. I mean, I watched a few clips of some things here and there, but I did just like ever since my last lakeside chat, I did step back just a little bit and not worry about what people were saying about me or this, that, and the other. And oh my God, it's, perfect life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like I'm not informing myself. Like here's something here's a question for you, Paladin. How about this? I'm watching. Well, me and my wife are watching. We're at the lake. We're watching Fox News during this El Paso shooting. Okay. We're watching Fox News, which if I'm going to watch any news station, it's going to be that one. So I'm watching it, and lo and behold, I know the shooter's name. I have seen the Walmart pictures 3.5 to 4 hours before Fox News releases it. Why is that? What are they doing?
Now, what do you mean you saw those before Fox News did? I don't understand.
Oh, absolutely, dude. I was on YouTube searching, and all of a sudden, I'm catching this guy's name. I'm catching Walmart photos of him. I'm catching all this, and nothing about this is being. I even looked at my wife, who's watching this. She's like, glued to the TV because she's one of those kind of people. She doesn't think like me, even though I try. She's like, I'm like, well, do you want to know his name? I told her his name. I said, you want to know this? You want to know that? And she even looked at me one time and goes, "You don't know his name. You watch stupid YouTube and all that, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "No, these people are doing this shit for a reason. Why are they not giving his name when it's already out in the public?"
Oh, well, I don't know, but I have no idea about that.
I mean, just think about that though. How does a peer-to-peer or YouTube thing go, and we know his name 3.5 to 4 hours before Main Street Media releases it? That I find that to be totally strange.
Oh, well, I don't know. They could be vetting something. I mean, who knows, on that one, who knows about that?
I knew the name about 3 hours after the incident actually happened. Somebody on Facebook found it.
Exactly, Matt. The world's become about social media, so social media combines, and why are these news stations that are feeding all these people this bullshit? And I'm not excluding Fox News from that by no means. Why are they feeding the public so much bullshit? Okay, vetting. What are they vetting?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing of it is, they probably have to send somebody out there, with a camera and somebody to report live and all that stuff. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, but what what you're reminding me of is when that lady from BBC was talking in the late afternoon of 9/11, if you all remember that. And she's talking about Building 7 has collapsed, and you can see Building 7 still standing behind her over her shoulder. And that's where they got it upside down.
I watched a clip today from a news organization. I can't remember where it was at, but the reporter goes, and we had another mass shooting tonight. And then she pauses
and said that hasn't happened yet.
Yes, did you see that?
Yeah, that's Hawaii. Yeah, that was Hawaii.
Yes,
yeah.
It was Hawaii. You're right.
You see, so I mean, that's my point. Some of the times they get it ahead of time, and then they start talking about it before it actually happens. So it's that foreknowledge thing. It's the same foreknowledge thing that I've been talking about with Vegas. Okay. And if you go and you investigate these things, you will find that in a lot of these incidents, you can identify some sort of foreknowledge, and that's problematic, obviously.
So when you say foreknowledge, every one of these mass shootings, somehow, some way, Google has a before date that they posted things.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you find that to be just a Google error, or do you find that to be like real? Because I'm looking at it going, really? You're the biggest tech company in the world, apparently, and you can't get that shit right?
Well, I mean, I'm not technical, so I've never checked it, but I do know Sandy Hook. There's a death notice for the guy who did Sandy Hook the day or two before that happened, and there was also a fundraising thing that went up a day or two before Sandy Hook happened too. I've got that somewhere. I did a screenshot of that. I've got it someplace. So yeah, that's foreknowledge. These people know what's going on before it happens. Now, how could that be?
Well, I seen that on the it was either, I think it was the Gilroy shooting, and I shot it over to True Seeker, and I saw that on the video on 153 News. By the way, if you guys don't know what 153 News is, go over there and listen to those guys. They, to me, and this is just my opinion, this ain't putting Matt or Paladin in this. Those guys tell you the truth, man. So,
yeah.
I saw that on there, then I brought it, and I actually put it up on my own computer and did my own research on it. And then I shot it over to True Seeker, and True Seeker put a video out on it. And then, of course, she's called crazy and this, that, and the other, but it's not crazy, man. Okay, you get one mass shooting wrong. You get two mass shootings wrong. You get three. Okay, now I'm going to start questioning you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it seems to be that all this stuff is very predictable to Google. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, very strange.
And just like the Hawaii thing. I mean, the Hawaii thing is like, you got the reporter going, oh, that hadn't happened yet. Like, really?
Yeah, I wonder if that's been scrubbed. That's been making the rounds.
I did see it, though. I know it happened.
Yeah, no, I saw it too. I've had several people send that to me. And she says, "Oh, it hasn't happened yet." Oh boy. Wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's like snafu, big time snafu there. But like I say, it reminds me of that, I forget her last name, Jane's her first name, that reporter from the BBC. She's talking about 9/11, and she's reporting that I don't know what they called that building 7, the Lehman Brothers building or something, whatever it was. She describes that, and she says now they're reporting that that's collapsed. And you can see it over her shoulder in the background. It's still up, It was like 20 or 30 minutes before it actually did collapse. So that's foreknowledge. And that's some of the stuff, whenever I look at this, that's some of the stuff that I look for, see if there's foreknowledge. Because if there's foreknowledge, then
Well, we can do
know.
this on another show because I don't want to do it tonight. But why the hell did Building 7 collapse in the first place?
Because it was supposed to. Something went wrong and they had to take it down. And that one, that was the most botched one of the 3. That one was really botched. And that one, if you ever look at it, I've talked to a lot of people about 9/11, and all I have to do is show them that video of that collapsing to convince them that something else happened than what they're telling us.
Right.
Because that was, pull it. That's right. Shady J, pull it. The interview with the guy who owned the buildings, and Silverstein, I think is his name. And, he does that interview and he says, well, we just had so much loss of life. We just decided to pull it, which is a fireman's term, of demolition, to demolish it. And boy, they did. It came right down too.
Well,
yeah, Larry Silverstein. That's it.
We can do that on another show. I have plenty of questions about that one for you, but
and that's another thing. You don't think Trump knows about that? That happened in his city. You don't think he knows about how to build a high-rise building? What's in, that, and the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center, if those architects they shut those architects and engineers up. But right after that happened, they went to talk to him, and they're like, we designed this building with the steel to prevent this exact thing.
Right.
That was what we had in mind when we developed this. And, that building was made of steel, and, that airplane is basically aluminum, and that airplane should have just splatted against the side of that building and fell down, but it went right through just like a knife through butter. And if you slow down this second hit, if you slow that down, you will see that airplane, as it goes in the building, does not slow down one bit, which is completely against the law of physics.
Man, there's so much wrong about 9/11 that we could get into.
Yeah. And then, there was Monetta's testimony before the 9/11 Commission about Cheney down in the bunker that, wouldn't let him shoot down the plane that was headed for the Pentagon.
I'm still yet to see a plane hit the Pentagon. So, and
it was a missile. It was a missile.
This is one of the most protected places on Earth.
Right. Yeah.
We talk about Vegas a lot, me, you, KL, and the rest of the guys that's in these chats. We talk about Vegas as, being the most security cam place in the planet, but we're talking about one of the most protected places on Earth, like the White House. And we got one video.
Yeah, and in that area, by the way, there are 3 or 4 different video cameras, from what I understand, around the Pentagon, like the gas station across the street and some other places that we didn't ever get to see. But that's not surprising. They can't show us, something if it doesn't support the story.
Well, I've seen a lot of things go on with these recent shootings that I'm not 100% sure about, but again, I told everybody when they came into this chat, if they expected me to say no one died or everyone died or that, then they were in the wrong fucking place to begin with. But there are some strange shit happening, and I'm eventually going to bring it to light because that's what I do. So hate me or don't. Now, as long as this channel's up, I'm going to keep speaking of what I see. Now, you make your own judgment about that. I think I can speak when I say I don't tell you what to think. You know what I'm saying? I'm just showing you. And I've done that my whole time here. I used to question everything, but then I start seeing things. So I say, okay, this is this and whatever. But there's so much going on here, Paladin and Matt, and it's all happening for a reason, and people need to understand that shit, that this is not just something that just, like you said, astronomical, man. It's crazy. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I would liken it to still believing in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy. If you believe what these people tell you, then I guess that's what you're, resigned to do. But I think you got to question everything. I mean, we can all talk politics, or we can think politics, and we can watch these shows, and we can hear, people that have an opposing view of ours, and we know some of that stuff is just complete and utter bullshit, right? So why wouldn't we think that some of these other things that they report on the news is not total and utter bullshit too? I mean, we got to understand what's going on here, I think. And I grew up in the day where we only had 3 networks. We only had ABC, NBC, and CBS. There was no cable. There wasn't 1,000 channels you could pick from. There were only 3. Talk about concentrated news.
Now it's all over the place.
Yeah. So, yeah. So now you get, whatever flavor you want. It's what are the ice cream place, 98 flavors or whatever, that's what you got now. You got any kind of flavor you want, but you have to understand that it's not facts anymore. And I don't know whether it ever was facts. It's opinion or it's propaganda. That's what it is. And that's not what the media, what the press is for. The press is to inform the people. They're supposed to be independent of the government or anything else. They're supposed to be completely objective. Just report it as it is and let us determine what we think about it. But everything is out there to shape our opinions, to give us the impression of this or that or whatever. And so I think the society has evolved now. Well, I don't know if you call it evolved. We've progressed to the point where we feel like, oh gosh, I can watch this and I can watch that, or I can tune into my news feed on my phone and I can find out everything that's going on in the world, right? But they don't realize, or they don't ever stop to think that maybe some of the stuff that's being reported is not accurate. I don't know if that crosses anybody's mind. I mean, I'm sure that in the sports section, the scores, we can rely on those scores being accurate, but and maybe some of the weather is it, if they report it real time, it's raining in St. Louis or whatever. Okay. But the rest of the stuff is opinion or it's propaganda. We have to understand that.
You are definitely right. So I don't want to keep, it's 2:32 in the morning over here where me and you are, Paladin. So I don't know about Matt, but
it's 1:30 in the morning here.
Yeah.
It's getting late. So I would love to do this shit again, but I do have to work tomorrow. So I think I'm going to close it on that note. And I love that you guys came on and gave your opinions, and I hope we can do this again.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, me too. Too bad. I guess KL's phone is starting to charge again, but she's the night owl. She's up all night, so
she's being an ass right now. I asked her to come back in. She said no. So
oh, okay, all right. Well then,
I love her though, but she still said no.
She's being a pain in the ass. So
She's not mad at me, is she?
That happens.
I hope I didn't get on her bad side now. Now I'm really in trouble.
Oh.
She, she gave us all smiley faces or some kind of faces. I don't know what they are, but maybe we're good, maybe we're not.
Oh boy.
Oh, smiley faces.
Okay.
That's good.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, that's a good sign. All right.
But absolutely, thank you guys for coming on, and I hope we can do this again. And this was a great discussion tonight. And
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it was
this
really
might
good.
be my best show ever. So I do appreciate that, and we will move on to the next. And sorry to you guys in the chat that I haven't been around. I just got tired of the BS and decided to take a week and a half vacation. But with that being said, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Paladin. Thank you, KO. You guys got any last words while you're...
Peace.
Peace.
Always be discerning. Question everything.
Question everything.
Yeah, be skeptical. It's the best way to go.
All right, guys. Thank you for coming, and thank you to all the guests, and love you all, and on to the next.